The sun had barely risen over the mist-covered mountains, casting a soft, golden hue on the peaceful landscape. In the small, secluded village of Wangliu, nestled at the foot of the towering Tianwu mountain range, a young boy, no older than 16, stood by the edge of a stream, staring intently at the ripples. His name was Liang Feng, a name that was rarely spoken with reverence. Instead, it was often murmured with pity or even scorn. Liang Feng was an orphan, raised by his late grandmother, and was considered by most in the village to be nothing more than an average child, weak, lacking in talent, and without any prospects for the future. "Will I ever be more than this?" Liang Feng muttered, clenching his fists as he gazed at his reflection in the water. His body was lean and covered with scars, remnants of the many times he'd tried and failed to cultivate the spiritual energy known as qi, the lifeblood of all martial artists. In the world of cultivation, every person had the potential to harness qi, the energy that flowed through all living things. Those who could cultivate qi could improve their strength, speed, and stamina, but also harness powerful techniques that could change the very world itself. But for Liang Feng, qi cultivation was a constant struggle. He could feel the energy within his body, but it was as though it was locked behind an invisible barrier, refusing to move no matter how hard he tried. Liang Feng sighed, running a hand through his messy black hair. "Maybe, I'm just not meant for this." At that moment, a voice called from behind him. "Feng, are you still out here?" Liang Feng turned to see his grandmother, Xian Mei, standing on the path leading to their humble home. Her face was lined with age, but her eyes were sharp and full of wisdom. Her once black hair was now streaked with silver, but her posture was as straight as the mountains themselves. "Grandma," Liang Feng greeted her with a forced smile, trying to hide the frustration in his voice. "Just thinking." Xian Mei approached him, her eyes softening as she studied his expression. "I know it hasn't been easy for you, Feng. Cultivation is not something that happens overnight. Even the most talented of cultivators had to start somewhere." "I know, but I'm not like those cultivators in the village," Liang Feng replied bitterly. "No one believes in me. Everyone says I'm hopeless. I can't even cultivate qi properly. What's the point of trying?" Xian Mei smiled gently and placed a hand on his shoulder. "The path of cultivation is not just about talent, but perseverance. It is true that some are born with a natural affinity for qi, but those who are willing to work hard, to fight against all odds, will always find a way to rise." Liang Feng frowned, looking down at his hands. "What if I'm not strong enough to rise?" Xian Mei's eyes sparkled with a mysterious light, a glimmer of something ancient in them. "Strength is not always about physical power. Sometimes, the greatest strength lies in the heart, in the will to never give up." Suddenly, the ground beneath their feet rumbled. Liang Feng looked around, eyes wide with alarm. "What is that?" Xian Mei's face tightened, and her voice dropped to a whisper. "It's happening again." Before Liang Feng could react, a loud roar echoed from the direction of the mountain. The sound was monstrous, a terrifying mixture of fury and agony. The villagers had begun to stir, running out of their homes, panic written on their faces. "What's going on?" Liang Feng shouted. His grandmother's expression darkened. "It's him, the beast of Tianwu Mountain." Liang Feng's heart skipped a beat. The beast of Tianwu Mountain was a legendary creature, a monstrous entity of untold power that had terrorized the region for centuries. It was said to be the guardian of the mountain, a beast that only appeared when the balance of qi in the world was disrupted. "Grandma, we need to leave," Liang Feng urged, grabbing her arm. "The beast is going to destroy the village." Xian Mei shook her head, her eyes fierce. "No, we can't run. We must confront it." Liang Feng stared at her, confusion filling his mind. "Confront it? How? We're just ordinary people. We have no chance against that thing." Xian Mei closed her eyes for a moment, then nodded as if making a decision. "There is something I've never told you, Feng. Something hidden within your bloodline. You are not just any ordinary person." Liang Feng took a step back, his confusion deepening. "What do you mean?" Xian Mei placed both hands on his shoulders, her grip firm. "You carry within you the blood of the Starry Moon sect, one of the most powerful martial clans in ancient times. Your father was a cultivator of unimaginable talent, but he disappeared before you were born. That is why you cannot cultivate qi as others do. The path for you is different." Liang Feng's heart hammered in his chest. "The Starry Moon sect? But that's just a legend. I've never heard of it." Xian Mei nodded gravely. "The sect has long since fallen, but their legacy lives on. You have inherited something that no one in this village could ever understand, an ancient power, one that has been dormant for years. But if you awaken it, you will be able to control the qi of the world itself. Liang Feng felt a chill run down his spine. What do I have to do? Xian Mei stepped back, her eyes filled with a fierce determination. You must open your heart, trust in your bloodline, and fight. The beast of Tianwu is no ordinary creature, it is a manifestation of the world's qi itself, and you, Feng, are the key to defeating it. Suddenly, a flash of light filled the sky, and the roar of the beast grew louder, more violent. Now, Feng, Xian Mei shouted, take hold of your inheritance. Liang Feng closed his eyes, his body trembling as the world around him seemed to fade away. He could feel something stirring deep within his chest, an ancient power, buried for years, now awakening. His hand shot out instinctively, and the qi in the air responded. The once feeble energy surged through his body like a torrent, flooding every cell, every vein. The world went silent. Liang Feng felt as though he had fallen into a boundless void, where neither sky nor earth existed. His senses dulled, and even his breathing faded into nothingness. Yet within that emptiness, something vast slowly revealed itself. A starry sea spread beneath his feet. Countless stars shimmered in the darkness, each one pulsing with faint but ancient light. Rivers of silver radiance flowed between them like celestial meridians, forming a grand, incomprehensible formation. Where is this? Liang Feng whispered. His voice echoed endlessly. Before he could take another step, one star suddenly flared brighter than the rest. Its light expanded, forming the faint silhouette of a person clad in long robes, hair flowing freely, eyes deep like the cosmos itself. You have finally arrived. The voice was calm, yet it carried the weight of countless years. Liang Feng's heart trembled. Who are you? The figure gazed at him, a trace of nostalgia flickering in its eyes. I am Liang Kang, the last patriarch of the Starry Moon sect, and your father. The words struck Liang Feng like thunder. Father. His thoughts spiraled. That's impossible. Grandma said you disappeared before I was born. Liang Kang smiled faintly. Disappeared? Yes. But not by choice. The starry sea churned violently as memories surged forth, images of a majestic sect floating among the heavens, disciples cultivating beneath moonlight, and banners embroidered with stars and crescents fluttering proudly. Then came fire. Endless enemies descended from the void. Cultivation techniques shattered the sky. Blood stained the stars. Our sect was destroyed because we possessed something the world feared, Liang Kang said softly. The star meridian physique. Liang Feng clenched his fists. Is that why I couldn't cultivate qi? Yes. Liang Kang nodded. Your body does not circulate qi like ordinary cultivators. Instead, it forges star meridians, pathways that can command both heaven and earth. Until awakened, they remain sealed. Then what awakened them now? Liang Feng asked. The beast of Tianwu Mountain, Liang Kang replied. It is not merely a beast, it is a star devourer, drawn to dormant star bloodlines. If you had not awakened today, it would have consumed you. Liang Feng's breathing quickened. Then, am I strong now? Liang Kang shook his head. You have taken your first step. Nothing more. With a wave of his hand, a stream of starlight shot toward Liang Feng's chest. This is the Star Pulse scripture, the foundational cultivation method of our sect. It will allow you to open your star meridians, one by one. But remember, your path will be far more difficult than ordinary cultivators. Pain exploded through Liang Feng's body. He screamed. Each bone felt as though it were being reforged, each vein burned like molten iron. The first star meridian tore open near his heart, flooding his body with an unfamiliar yet overwhelming power. Cultivation realm. Star initiation. First meridian opened. The starry sea faded. Liang Feng's eyes snapped open. A shockwave burst outward from his body, sending dust and pebbles flying. The stream nearby split apart, water froze in midair before crashing down violently. He gasped for breath, collapsing to one knee. Feng, Xian Mei rushed to his side, supporting him as his body trembled uncontrollably. Her eyes widened when she sensed the aura surrounding him. This pressure, she murmured. You really did awaken it. Liang Feng looked at his hands. Silver light flickered beneath his skin like flowing constellations. His senses were sharper. He could hear villagers shouting far away, feel the vibrations of the mountain, even sense the terrifying presence approaching from deep within Tianwu Mountain. It's coming, he said hoarsely. A deafening roar split the sky. The mountain shook as a colossal shadow emerged from the forest. The beast of Tianwu Mountain revealed itself, towering over houses, its body covered in obsidian scales, eyes glowing with star-devouring greed. Villagers screamed and fled. Xian Mei stood still, her expression grave. Feng, listen to me carefully. You cannot defeat it yet. Liang Feng stared at the beast, fear battling with resolve. Then what do I do? You survive, she said firmly. And you leave this place. She reached into her sleeve and pulled out an ancient jade pendant etched with a crescent moon and 7 stars. This is a star escape talisman. It will teleport you far away, but only once. What about you? Liang Feng shouted. Xian Mei smiled gently. This old woman has lived long enough. Your path has just begun. No, he grabbed her hand. I won't leave you. The beast roared again, its massive claw descending. Xian Mei activated the talisman. Live, Feng, she said softly. Climb to the very peak, and never bow to fate. Light swallowed him whole. When Liang Feng opened his eyes again, he was lying in a dense forest unfamiliar to him. The air here was thick with spiritual energy, far richer than his village. Tears streamed silently down his face. He clenched the pendant fragment still warm in his palm. I swear, he whispered, voice shaking yet resolute. I will return. I will become strong enough to protect what I lost. Above him, the stars shimmered faintly, even in daylight. Somewhere far away, unseen forces began to stir. The star meridian had awakened. And the world would never be the same again. The air was thick with the scent of pine and the crackle of energy. Liang Feng sat up slowly, feeling the weight of both his newfound power and the heartbreak of losing the only family he had ever known. The dense forest stretched in every direction, filled with ancient trees whose towering trunks seemed to stretch into infinity. But amidst the trees, the spiritual energy in the air was so thick it felt almost tangible, pulsating with a deep, resonating hum. Liang Feng reached up to wipe his face, brushing away the tears that had fallen silently during his arrival in this unknown place. The star escape talisman had done its job. It had transported him far from the beast of Tianwu, far from the village, far from his grandmother. But it had also separated him from the world he had known, leaving him with only a sliver of hope and a heavy burden of responsibility. I'll get stronger. I have to, he whispered, his voice barely louder than the whispering wind through the trees. With a deep breath, Liang Feng rose to his feet, his body still trembling with the aftershocks of his transformation. His hand instinctively reached for his chest, feeling the pulse of the first star meridian, the surge of power that now flowed through his veins. The pain of awakening had been intense, almost unbearable, but there was no mistaking the vitality that radiated from within. His body was no longer the fragile, ordinary vessel it had been before. He was no longer a weak boy. Liang Feng could feel the starlight within him, flickering like a distant constellation, urging him to move forward. His connection to the heavens was more than just a gift, it was a responsibility, a calling. But what now? The thought gnawed at him as he scanned his surroundings. The forest was silent, the only sounds the occasional rustling of leaves and the distant call of some creature he couldn't yet identify. There was no clear path forward, only the overwhelming presence of qi that seemed to pulse through the earth itself. Liang Feng's mind drifted back to his father's words, the last patriarch of the Starry Moon sect. Star Meridian Physique. He had never heard of such a thing before today, but now, it felt like the key to everything. And yet, it had come at a terrible cost. His grandmother, Xian Mei, had sacrificed herself so that he could live, so that he could become strong enough to face the beast of Tianwu and whatever other dangers awaited him. But what exactly did that strength mean? With a sudden, sharp motion, Liang Feng extended his hand, channeling the first meridian. The air around him shimmered with the presence of qi as it gathered around his fingers like a swirling vortex of starlight. He could feel it, feel the energy coiling within him, ready to burst free. But something was different. The energy didn't respond as it should. It didn't obey his command, and the starlight fizzled out, vanishing into the air with a faint, sour crackle. His chest tightened. Why won't you listen? He muttered to himself, frustration mounting in his throat. He had unlocked his first meridian, but it didn't feel like enough. He wasn't ready to fight a beast, let alone the other cultivators, monsters, and challenges he was bound to face on this strange new path. But then, in the midst of his self-doubt, a soft voice broke through the tension. Your journey has just begun, Liang Feng. Liang Feng whipped around, eyes wide. The forest had remained eerily still, yet, now, standing before him was a figure shrouded in radiant light. It wasn't a physical presence, but one made of starlight, as if an illusion had manifested from the very energy that pulsed in the air around him. Are you a spirit? Liang Feng asked, his voice a mix of awe and disbelief. The figure's eyes shone like twin stars, bright and unyielding. No, I am not a spirit. I am a manifestation of the star meridian, the first to awaken. The path you walk is fraught with trials, Liang Feng. You must learn to wield your power, or it will destroy you. Liang Feng's heart raced. The star meridian. This wasn't just a random vision. It was something linked to his very bloodline. You must go to the celestial pool, the figure continued. It is a place where cultivators of your kind, those with the star meridian physique, can sharpen their connection to the stars and strengthen their powers. It lies beyond the Red Moon Peak, deep within the moonlit valley. But beware, many have sought it, and many have fallen. Liang Feng's fists clenched. Moonlit Valley, Celestial Pool, these were places of legend, whispered of in old stories, but no one had ever confirmed their existence. It felt like the very heavens themselves were beckoning him forward. Do I go alone? Liang Feng asked, determination replacing the fear in his voice. If there was a way to grow stronger, to understand his star meridian, to avenge his grandmother and protect the world, he would find it. The figure nodded. The journey you must take is yours alone. The celestial pool will not accept anyone who is not worthy. Only by facing your deepest fears, by enduring the trials ahead, will you unlock your true potential. Liang Feng closed his eyes, feeling the burning weight of his grandmother's words echo in his heart. Climb to the very peak, and never bow to fate. I won't bow, he vowed quietly, staring at the shimmering starlight before him. I will rise. With a flash, the figure dissolved into the air, leaving behind a single fragment, a star-shaped crystal that pulsed with a warm, golden light. Liang Feng reached down and picked it up, feeling the power it radiated. This was the first step. The path would be dangerous, fraught with enemies and challenges beyond his imagination, but Liang Feng was no longer afraid. The star meridian was within him. And no beast, no cultivator, and no obstacle would stop him from awakening the full power of his bloodline. The time for weakness had passed. As he turned away, setting his gaze toward the mountains in the distance, Liang Feng could already feel the stirrings of power growing within him. He knew the road ahead would be long and arduous, but he would walk it. And with each step, he would become stronger. The world had no idea who he was yet, but soon they would. His story had just begun. And in the distance, the stars above shone brighter than ever before. Liang Feng did not look back. With the star-shaped crystal secured in his palm, he stepped deeper into the forest, following the faint pull in his chest, the subtle resonance between his star meridian and something far away. Each step felt heavier than the last, not from exhaustion, but from the pressure of the world itself. This place was no ordinary forest. This spiritual density, Liang Feng muttered. Qi here was at least 3 times richer than in Wangliu village. For ordinary cultivators, this would be a paradise. For him, it was a test. The energy did not flow smoothly into his body, it pressed against him, probing, as if judging whether he was worthy. Crunch. Liang Feng froze. The sound came from his left. His instincts screamed. He leapt backward just as a shadow burst from the underbrush. Claws raked through the space where his head had been a moment earlier, tearing bark from a tree with a screech of splintering wood. A beast landed heavily on the ground. It resembled a wolf, but larger, nearly the size of a horse. Its fur was ash-gray, streaked with faint red patterns, and its eyes glowed a feral green. Qi rolled off its body in unstable waves. A red vein, spirit wolf, Liang Feng whispered. He had heard of them before. Low-level spirit beasts, but far stronger than ordinary animals. Even a Qi-refining cultivator would struggle against one. And he had only just opened his first star meridian. The wolf growled, lips pulling back to reveal rows of sharp teeth. Liang Feng's heart pounded, but he didn't run. If he ran now, he would die later. He exhaled slowly, recalling his father's words. You command heaven and earth, but only if you survive. He focused inward. The first star meridian pulsed. Silver light spread beneath his skin, tracing faint constellation-like lines along his arms. The surrounding Qi reacted instantly, drawn toward him like moths to flame. The wolf lunged. Liang Feng stepped forward instead of back. He thrust his palm out. Star pulse. The word left his mouth instinctively. A compressed burst of starlight erupted from his palm, slamming into the wolf's chest. The impact sent the beast flying backward, crashing into a tree with a howl of pain. Liang Feng staggered. His arm burned. His meridian screamed in protest. So, this is the cost, he hissed. He had power, but no control. The wolf struggled to rise, blood seeping from its mouth. Its eyes burned with even greater fury. It charged again. This time, Liang Feng didn't attack. He closed his eyes. For a split second, the world slowed. He felt the stars, not above him, but within him. He felt the rhythm of the star meridian, the subtle pulse hidden beneath the chaos. Instead of forcing power outward, he guided it. The wolf leapt. Liang Feng sidestepped, twisting his body just enough to avoid the fangs. As the beast passed him, he drove his elbow down, channeling starlight at the moment of impact. Crack! The wolf collapsed, its body skidding across the forest floor before going still. Silence returned. Liang Feng stood there, breathing heavily, sweat dripping from his chin. His legs shook, but he remained upright. He had won, not through brute force, but timing, instinct, and trust in his meridian. A strange warmth spread through his chest. Experience gained. The first star meridian stabilized slightly, its glow more refined, less chaotic. Cultivation realm. Star initiation. First meridian, early stage right pointing arrow stable. Liang Feng let out a shaky laugh. So this is how it works. He knelt beside the wolf's body and found a small, crimson crystal embedded near its heart. A spirit core, he murmured. Even low-grade ones were valuable. Cultivators would kill for these. He pocketed it carefully. As he stood, the star-shaped crystal in his possession suddenly grew warm. An image flashed in his mind. A narrow mountain path. A broken stone gate carved with moons. The words Moonlit Valley etched deep into ancient rock. His expression sharpened. That's the direction, he said quietly. But he wasn't alone anymore. From deeper within the forest, multiple presences stirred. Not beasts. People. Hidden footsteps. Controlled breathing. Qi restrained, but sharp. Liang Feng's eyes narrowed. Cultivators. He slipped behind a tree just as three figures emerged onto the clearing. They wore gray and blue robes, swords at their waists, expressions cold and alert. One of them crouched near the dead wolf, inspecting it. Fresh kill, he said. Less than a minute. Another sniffed the air. Star-aligned qi, that's unusual. The third smiled faintly. Looks like we found something interesting. Liang Feng's heart sank. He was exhausted, injured, and far weaker than them. But he remembered his grandmother's final words. Never bow to fate. Slowly, silently, he tightened his grip. If this world wanted to test him again, he would answer. And far away, beyond mountains and sects, an ancient star flickered, as if it had noticed him at last. Liang Feng pressed his back against the rough bark of the tree, slowing his breathing until it nearly vanished. He could hear them clearly now, three cultivators, their qi steady and refined. At least qi refining realm, possibly higher. Right now, even one of them could kill him. Spirit Wolf was killed cleanly, the crouching cultivator said, standing up. No sword wounds. The leader's eyes narrowed. Then it wasn't us, and not a beast either. Liang Feng's mind raced. If I run, they'll chase. If I fight, I'll die. The star-shaped crystal pulsed again. A whisper brushed against his consciousness, not words, but direction. Up. His gaze flicked upward. The trees here were massive, their branches interwoven like a canopy. Without hesitation, Liang Feng gathered what little control he had and stepped onto the trunk. He ran vertically. His foot barely touched the bark before starlight surged, granting him just enough traction. He leapt from trunk to branch, then higher, moving like a shadow among leaves. Below. He's here, one cultivator barked, chasing north. A sword flashed upward, slicing through branches where Liang Feng had been moments earlier. Too close. He bit down on the pain screaming through his meridian and forced himself onward. The forest opened ahead, revealing a narrow ravine split between cliffs. And carved into the stone beyond it. A broken moon gate. Moonlit Valley. There. Someone shouted. No more hiding. Liang Feng sprinted toward the ravine and jumped. For an instant, gravity seized him. Then, star step. Silver light flared beneath his feet, forming a fleeting constellation in midair. He landed hard on the opposite side, rolling across stone before forcing himself up. The air changed the moment he crossed the gate. The spiritual energy here was pure, tinged with moonlight despite the sun still hanging in the sky. Ancient formations hummed faintly beneath the ground. The cultivators halted at the ravine's edge. The leader's expression darkened. Moonlit Valley. One of them swallowed. Senior brother, that place is forbidden. The leader clenched his jaw. A single boy with strange qi isn't worth dying for. They turned away. Liang Feng collapsed to one knee inside the valley, chest heaving. His vision blurred, but relief washed over him like rain. He had survived. Again, as he steadied himself, the valley revealed itself, terraced stone paths, shattered pillars, and ancient statues eroded by time. Moon symbols were carved everywhere, faintly glowing as he passed. Then he felt it. Water. Ahead, nestled in a circular basin of white stone, lay a pool as smooth as glass. The surface reflected the sky like a mirror, stars faintly visible within it despite daylight. The celestial pool, Liang Fengs' breath caught. The star crystal flew from his hand, hovering above the pool. Moonlight and starlight intertwined, forming a column of radiance. A voice echoed, not his father's, but many voices layered together. Star-blooded air detected. Trial of the celestial pool begins. The water rippled violently. Trial, Liang Feng whispered. The pool erupted. Illusions burst forth. Figures made of moonlight and shadow, each radiating killing intent. They resembled cultivators, beasts, even fragments of memories he didn't recognize. One stepped forward. It looked like him, but older, colder, eyes hollow with regret. If you cannot surpass yourself, the reflection said calmly, you will never reach the peak. Liang Feng forced himself to stand. Blood ran from his lip. His meridian throbbed. Fear clawed at his chest. But his gaze burned with resolve. I didn't survive to stop here. He stepped into the pool. The water was freezing. Pain exploded through his body as the celestial pool invaded his meridians, forcing open hidden pathways. His scream echoed through the valley as the second star meridian began to tremble. Cultivation realm, star initiation, second meridian, attempting awakening. Far above the valley, clouds swirled unnaturally. And somewhere in the wider world, a powerful cultivator opened their eyes. Star Chi, they murmured. So the starry moon sect truly left a seed behind. The heavens shifted, and Liang Feng's greatest trial had only just begun. Liang Feng's body convulsed with an explosion of pain, his mind disintegrating as the cold, alien energy of the celestial pool invaded his star meridian. The water seemed to turn to ice as it wrapped around his core, forcing open the second star meridian. The sensation was unlike anything he had ever felt before, hot and cold, light and dark, blending into a single agonizing force. His vision blurred as the celestial figures in the pool swirled around him, their voices murmuring words of mockery, of encouragement, of warnings. You will never ascend, one shadowy figure hissed. Weakling, you are not worthy, another added. But amidst the echoes, Liang Feng's will remained unshaken. The path of the star meridian was his alone to walk. And he would not falter. A sharp, resounding crack echoed inside his chest as the second star meridian began to crack open. His senses shattered, his world spiraling into chaotic fragments. The water rippled violently, the surface of the pool reflecting the stars that seemed to grow closer, like an endless sea. The reflection of the figure that resembled him, the older, cold version of himself, stepped forward, its eyes burning with an emptiness that Liang Feng could feel deep in his soul. You cannot surpass yourself, the reflection whispered, its voice like the softest wind yet cutting through his very being. You are destined to fail, to fall to the very trials you face. Liang Feng's teeth clenched. I didn't survive to stop here, he spat, his voice hoarse but filled with undeniable resolve. The water around him began to bubble and swirl as the second meridian continued its painful awakening. With a sudden flash of light, the pain multiplied. His very body felt as though it were being torn apart by the force of the stars themselves. Surpass myself. Liang Feng's voice echoed through the pool, his hands gripping the edge of the stone basin, his fingers bleeding from the strain. I won't be your shadow. I won't be the man you think I am. The water exploded outward, and the image of his older self dissolved into mist, only for the pool to erupt in a burst of starlight. Liang Feng's eyes opened wide, feeling the overwhelming surge of power filling him, uncontrollable yet exquisite. The second meridian, once sealed deep within his chest, now throbbed with a pulse of energy that felt as if the very stars had taken residence within him. His body cracked, as if forged in the heart of the cosmos itself. Cultivation realm, star initiation, second meridian awakened. The second star meridian had opened. But Liang Feng barely had time to process this triumph before a sudden pressure flooded the valley. His heart beat wildly as the air grew thick with a familiar sense of danger. His star meridian still felt unstable, raw, incomplete. He had achieved the impossible, but he was far from ready. The illusionary figures reappeared, circling above him, and then the sound of footsteps echoed in the distance. Cultivators. More of them. Liang Feng's gaze flicked toward the broken stone pillars leading deeper into the valley. The celestial pool had already tested him, but it seemed the valley itself had a different trial in mind. His breathing was labored, his body still shaking from the immense strain of the awakening. He couldn't stop now. If he hesitated, those cultivators would catch up. He needed to learn how to control the power rushing through him, or risk becoming a target for anyone who sensed his new chi. With a final, determined breath, he rose to his feet, his body still aching but his spirit burning brighter than ever before. "I'll find my way," Liang Feng whispered, his voice steady with a new sense of clarity. "I'll rise to the peak." As he moved through the moonlit valley, the light of the stars above seemed to guide his steps, even as the threat of unknown dangers loomed larger in the distance. The valley was vast, its true secrets hidden in the folds of its ancient paths and forgotten temples. He didn't know what awaited him, but he knew one thing: there was no turning back. Deep within the valley, hidden in the shadows, a pair of glowing eyes watched him closely. Liang Feng's pulse raced as he pressed forward through the moonlit valley, the sound of his footsteps barely a whisper against the ancient stone beneath him. His mind was a whirlwind, the power of the second star meridian still raw within his body, crackling like an uncontrolled storm. He had only just unlocked the second pathway, yet he felt more connected to the heavens than ever before. The starry energy within him hummed in rhythm with the earth itself, resonating deep inside his chest. The valley stretched on, its endless stone paths winding like a labyrinth. The stone pillars, eroded by time, jutted out of the ground at odd angles, their once beautiful carvings faded but still faintly glowing with moonlight. The air here was thick with spiritual energy, and Liang Feng could feel it pressing down on him, like the weight of an invisible force. This place wasn't just ancient, it was alive with qi. He slowed as he came to a small clearing, a circle of smooth, polished stones surrounded by an eerie mist. The energy in the air was different here, charged, heavy, and more concentrated. His instincts screamed that this was no ordinary place. The clearing seemed untouched by time, almost like a forgotten sanctum. Liang Feng took a cautious step forward. Suddenly, a voice echoed through the clearing, rich and ancient. "You've awakened the second star meridian, child of the starry moon. But the path you seek will not be so easily claimed." Liang Feng froze, scanning the mist. His heart skipped. Who? He cut himself off, realizing the voice wasn't a physical presence, it was embedded in the air itself, a spiritual echo, a remnant of something long past. The mist began to swirl, coalescing into a figure, a tall, ethereal woman cloaked in robes of shimmering starlight. Her face was hidden behind a veil of light, but her eyes glowed, bright like the stars themselves. The air around her hummed with qi, ancient and pure. "I am the guardian of the celestial pool, the keeper of the trials of the star meridian," the woman said, her voice both soft and commanding. "Many have come seeking the power of the starry moon, but few have succeeded. The path you walk is fraught with danger. You must prove yourself, Liang Feng." Liang Feng's heart raced. "Prove myself? What do you mean?" The figure extended her hand, and the ground beneath Liang Feng's feet began to rumble. Slowly, the stones in the clearing began to lift, floating into the air, arranged into a formation. The mist swirled violently, and in the center of the formation appeared a shimmering barrier, something ancient, something powerful. "Your trial has begun," the guardian's voice echoed. "You must face your deepest fears, your doubts, your weaknesses. Only then can you unlock the full power of the star meridian." Liang Feng's eyes narrowed. "I don't fear anything," he said, his voice steady despite the pounding in his chest. But deep inside, doubt lingered. What if I'm not strong enough? What if I can't unlock the third meridian? The guardian's gaze seemed to pierce him. "We all have fears, child. Even the stars have their moments of darkness." The mist parted, and Liang Feng was suddenly surrounded by an oppressive stillness. It was as if the very air had turned to stone. His heartbeat was deafening in his ears. He gripped his fists, prepared to face whatever came next, but then, without warning, the world shifted. He was no longer in the valley. Liang Feng blinked, his surroundings changing in an instant. He found himself standing at the edge of Wangliu village, the place he had grown up. But something was wrong. The village was in flames, burning in a frenzy of red and orange. The ground shook with the roar of a distant beast, and the sky was black with smoke. The air was thick with the scent of death and destruction. "No," Liang Feng whispered. This can't be real." "It is real," the guardian's voice answered, her figure now behind him, though she remained silent. "This is the darkness within you. The fear of losing everything." Liang Feng's eyes widened as he saw a familiar figure, his grandmother, Xian Mei, standing in the village square, her face pale but determined. She turned to face him, her eyes filled with a quiet sadness. "Feng," she called, her voice a broken whisper. "You were never meant to carry this burden alone. You must embrace your destiny, or all will be lost." His heart lurched. "Grandma," but as he reached for her, she was consumed by a blast of dark energy. Liang Feng cried out, his feet stumbling as he fell to his knees. No, he shouted. No, I won't let you go. I won't. The image of Xian Mei vanished, replaced by an overwhelming presence, an enormous shadow looming over the burning village. It was the beast of Tianwu, but its form was twisted, corrupted by the darkness within Liang Feng's heart. It growled, its eyes filled with malice as it took a step toward him. The beast will destroy everything you love, Liang Feng, the guardian's voice echoed. You can't defeat it, not without fully awakening the power of the star meridian. The shadow of the beast grew larger, towering over him. The ground beneath Liang Feng's feet began to crack, the very earth trembling. His thoughts spun out of control. I'm not strong enough. I failed. Grandma's dead because I couldn't protect her. I couldn't even save myself. Liang Feng's hands trembled as the power within him surged, wild and uncontrollable. His star meridian burned, each pulse of energy threatening to rip him apart. He wanted to collapse, to surrender to the fear, to let the beast consume him, but something deep within his heart refused to yield. He stood tall. I will not fall, he muttered, gritting his teeth. I will not let fear control me. I won't let her death be in vain. The image of the beast of Tianwu roared as it advanced. But this time, Liang Feng didn't flinch. His chest tightened, his heart beating in rhythm with the stars. The second meridian inside him flared, and silver starlight flowed like liquid across his skin, connecting him to the stars above. He raised his hand toward the beast. Star pulse. His voice rang out, stronger now, filled with unshakable determination. A beam of pure starlight erupted from his palm, slamming into the beast's chest. The shadowy figure faltered, its body writhing in agony as the light consumed it. But it wasn't enough. Liang Feng's body shook with exhaustion, but he gritted his teeth and gathered the energy again. I will become stronger, he whispered to himself. For them, for me. The second star meridian pulsed in response. The beast recoiled as Liang Feng summoned another surge of power, this time more controlled, more refined. Star pulse, he shouted again. This time, the blast tore through the beast's body, disintegrating the shadow into nothingness. And then, silence. Liang Feng fell to one knee, gasping for breath. His head spun, and his body trembled. The trial had been brutal, but he had passed it. He had faced his deepest fear, and for the first time, he felt the weight of his power. The guardian's voice echoed again, this time filled with approval. You have surpassed yourself, Liang Feng. The path to the third meridian is now open to you. With that, the mist cleared, and Liang Feng found himself back in the moonlit valley. The stars above twinkled brightly as if acknowledging his victory. But there was no time to rest. The path ahead would only get more dangerous, and more would test him. But now, he was ready. The world had no idea who Liang Feng was, but soon, they would. Moonlight washed over the valley like flowing water. Liang Feng remained kneeling, his breath uneven, his clothes soaked through with cold sweat. The illusion had faded, yet the emotions it stirred still clung tightly to his heart. Fear, regret, resolve. Above the clearing, the guardian of the celestial pool slowly descended, her form less solid than before, as though her existence was bound to the trial itself. You have passed the trial of the heart, she said. Few can face their own weakness and still stand. Liang Feng lifted his head. His eyes were clearer now, no longer the eyes of a boy who doubted his path. Is that all? He asked quietly. The guardian regarded him for a long moment, then shook her head. For ordinary cultivators, yes. For you, no. The celestial pool trembled. The mirror-like surface cracked with rings of silver light, and from its depths, a pressure far greater than before surged upward. Liang Feng's star meridians reacted violently, pulsing as if they were about to burst. This pool was once used by the inner disciples of the Starry Moon sect, the guardian continued. It does not merely temper qi, it tests destiny. Liang Feng's pupils shrank. Destiny. A low hum echoed through the valley. The third star meridian, the guardian said softly, cannot be opened by force, nor by talent alone. It requires recognition, from the stars themselves. The air grew heavy. Above the pool, starlight condensed, forming a vast, rotating diagram, a celestial formation made of countless star sigils. The moment it appeared, Liang Feng felt an overwhelming suppression press down upon him. His knees slammed into the stone. Crack. The ground beneath him fractured. This pressure. Liang Feng gritted his teeth, blood seeping from the corner of his mouth. The guardian's voice echoed like a distant bell. If you endure, you advance. If you fail, your star meridians will collapse. No retreat. No escape. Liang Feng laughed weakly. So that's how it is. He straightened his back, slowly, painfully, forcing himself upright under the crushing pressure. His bones groaned, his meridians screamed, yet the silver light within him did not retreat. Instead, it burned brighter. I've already lost everything once, he said hoarsely. I won't lose myself too. He closed his eyes. This time, he didn't try to draw power from the outside. He looked inward. The first star meridian pulsed steadily, stable, grounded. The second flickered, violent, but alive. Between them, there was something else. A faint, unopened pathway. Not sealed. Waiting. Liang Feng's consciousness brushed against it, and instantly, a flood of memories surged forth. A child cultivating alone at night. Mocking laughter from villagers. Xian Mei's gentle hands. A collapsing mountain. A star-filled sea. A vow whispered beneath the heavens. His heart thundered. So this is it, he murmured. The third star meridian responded. Not with pain, but with resistance. The celestial formation above descended inch by inch, grinding against his will. His skin split. Blood dripped onto the stone. His vision darkened. From outside the valley, boom, a distant explosion shook the earth. The guardian's head snapped up. Someone has broken the outer formations. Her expression turned cold. Cultivators from the outside world have entered Moonlit Valley. Liang Feng didn't open his eyes. I don't care, he said. The pressure doubled. His body screamed, and then, a star ignited, not above, within. A deep, ancient resonance echoed through his chest, like a bell struck across time itself. Silver light erupted from Liang Feng's body, surging upward and piercing the celestial formation. Crack, shatter, the formation exploded into fragments of light. Liang Feng gasped sharply as the third star meridian tore open, connecting all others into a complete cycle. His aura surged outward in a violent shockwave, flattening nearby ruins. Cultivation realm, star initiation, third meridian opened. Foundation of the star meridian physique formed. He collapsed, then laughed breathlessly. I did it. The celestial pool fell silent. The guardian stared at him, eyes filled with shock and reverence. A3 meridian awakening, in star initiation, she whispered. Even the ancient disciples would call this monstrous. But her form was already fading. The valley will soon awaken fully, she warned. And powerful eyes are turning toward you. Leave now, Liang Feng. Where should I go? He asked. The guardian smiled faintly. To the Azure Sky Sect. They guard one of the last star ascension platforms. Her form dispersed into moonlight. At the same moment, footsteps echoed at the valley entrance. Cold laughter followed. So this is where the disturbance came from. 3 figures stepped into the ruins, robes embroidered with blazing sun patterns, a sharp contrast to the moonlit surroundings. The leader's gaze locked onto Liang Feng. Hand over whatever you obtained, he said calmly, and I might let you live. Liang Feng slowly stood. Silver starlight flowed calmly around him now, no longer chaotic. He wiped the blood from his mouth and smiled. You're welcome to try. Above them, the stars shifted. And for the first time, Liang Feng felt confident standing beneath them. The moment Liang Feng finished speaking, the air changed. The 3 cultivators from the Blazing Sun faction spread out instinctively, forming a loose encirclement. Their movements were smooth, practiced, people who had killed before. The leader stepped forward. He was tall, with sharp brows and a calm, cruel gaze. His cultivation aura surged deliberately, pressing down like a wave. Qi refining realm, 9th layer. To stand after releasing that kind of fluctuation, the man said coolly. You're either fearless or ignorant. Liang Feng remained silent. Silver starlight drifted around his body, subtle but dense. It didn't clash with the pressure, it endured it. The leader's eyes narrowed. So it's the second type, he concluded. Kill him. The cultivator on the left moved first. His sword flashed, drawing a blazing arc through the air. Heat distorted space itself as the blade descended toward Liang Feng's neck. Fast, too fast, for ordinary cultivators. But Liang Feng saw it clearly. The third star meridian pulsed. Time didn't slow, but his perception sharpened. Every movement left a trace, every fluctuation of qi revealed its intent. He stepped sideways. The sword grazed past his shoulder, slicing off a lock of hair instead of flesh. What? The attacker shouted. Liang Feng countered immediately. He drove his fist forward, starlight condensing around his knuckles. Star crash. It wasn't a technique passed down by anyone. It was instinct. His fist struck the cultivator's chest. Boom. The man flew backward like a broken doll, slamming into a stone pillar. His ribs caved inward with a sickening crunch, blood spraying from his mouth as he slid to the ground, unmoving. Dead. Silence. The remaining two cultivators froze. One of them swallowed hard. He killed senior brother Joe with a single blow. The leader's expression finally changed. Not fear, interest. So your body refinement rivals a peak chi refining cultivator, he said slowly. No wonder the celestial pool reacted. Liang Feng exhaled. His meridians throbbed, but they held. So, he said calmly, are you still planning to kill me? The leader smiled. Of course. He drew his sword. Unlike the others, his blade carried inscriptions, true sect craftsmanship. As his chi surged, the sword ignited in brilliant golden flames. Remember this, the leader said, eyes cold. My name is Yan Kuang. If you die, at least you'll know who ended you. He stepped forward, and vanished. Too fast. Liang Feng's instinct screamed. He crossed his arms just as Yan Kuang reappeared in front of him, sword descending in a blazing arc. Clang. Starlight erupted as Liang Feng blocked with his forearms. Pain exploded through his bones. He was hurled backward, skidding across the stone, blood spilling from his lips. Yan Kuang frowned slightly. You blocked. Liang Feng pushed himself up, coughing. I told you, he said hoarsely, silver light flaring brighter. I won't bow to fate. The third star meridian rotated. For the first time, all three meridians aligned. A faint star ring formed behind him, illusory, incomplete, but real. Yan Kuang's pupils shrank. A protostar cycle. Impossible. Too late. Liang Feng stepped forward. Each step left a faint constellation beneath his feet. Star step. Distance collapsed. He appeared before Yan Kuang in an instant and struck, not with technique, but with everything he had. Star pulse times 3 meridians. A pillar of silver light swallowed Yan Kuang whole. The explosion shook Moonlit Valley. When the light faded, Yan Kuang lay embedded in the stone ground, his sword shattered, his chest scorched black. His eyes were wide with disbelief. You, he gasped. What, are you? Liang Feng stood over him, breathing hard. A cultivator, he answered quietly. He brought his hand down. The starlight faded. Yan Kuang did not move again. The valley fell silent once more. Liang Feng stood there for several breaths, then finally allowed himself to slump against a broken pillar. His body trembled violently as exhaustion crashed down on him. But he was alive, and stronger. He searched their bodies quickly, taking spirit stones, pills, and a sect token marked with a blazing sun. His eyes hardened. So this is only the beginning. He looked toward the distant horizon. Azure Sky Sect lay far beyond these mountains. And now, there would be people hunting him. Liang Feng clenched his fist, feeling the steady rhythm of his star meridians. Good, he murmured. Let them come. The forest around him seemed to settle, as if acknowledging his growing presence. Each step he took resonated faintly with the pulse of his star meridians. The celestial pool's energy still lingered in the air, leaving trails of starlight along the stone paths and pillars. He knew he could not stay here. The valley offered power, but also danger. Any sect, any cultivator who sensed the awakening of a star meridian physique would come seeking him. With a deep breath, Liang Feng turned toward the distant peaks, where the faint glow of Moonlit Valley's edge kissed the horizon. His path was clear. He had to journey toward the heart of cultivation, toward the legendary Red Moon Peak, where his star meridian might reach its full potential. Yet he also knew the path ahead would test him far beyond anything he had faced. Star-aligned cultivators, spirit beasts of terrifying power, and remnants of ancient sects lay between him and the strength he sought. As he began walking, the forest floor beneath him pulsed with faint starlight, reacting to the energy of his meridians. Each step strengthened his connection to the celestial energy within him. His body was no longer just human, it was a vessel capable of commanding the heavens, slowly learning the rhythm of the stars. But the world outside the forest had already noticed. Far to the north, atop a jagged cliff overlooking the plains, 3 shadowy figures stood. Their eyes, cold and calculating, reflected the silver light of Liang Feng's star meridians from miles away. The boy survived, and he's already activating the 3rd meridian, one of them whispered, voice like ice. Interesting, said another, a faint smile curling across his lips. He could become a threat sooner than we expected. Prepare the scouts. He cannot be allowed to reach Red Moon Peak unchallenged. Liang Feng did not know it yet, but his every step, every breath, and every heartbeat was being observed by those who coveted the power of the star meridian physique. And so, the hunt had truly begun. The forest began to thin as Liang Feng emerged onto a rocky plateau. The wind whipped past him, carrying with it a faint scent of blood and ozone, leftovers of his earlier battle in Moonlit Valley. Despite his exhaustion, he felt the star pulse within him humming like a steady drumbeat, urging him forward. Ahead, the terrain rose sharply toward the red moon peak. Jagged cliffs and sheer stone faces threatened to block his path, but Liang Feng's star meridian gave him strength. With careful steps and precise control of his qi, he scaled the cliffs, leaving faint trails of starlight in his wake. Hours passed. As night fell, the red moon rose over the horizon, casting an eerie crimson glow over the valley below. Liang Feng paused to catch his breath, gazing at the distant mountains. The red moon peak was closer now, but the weight of his exhaustion was beginning to settle heavily in his limbs. And then, a sound. Soft at first, a whisper against the wind, but unmistakable. Footsteps. Liang Feng's eyes narrowed. They were coming. From the shadows of a nearby ridge, 3 figures emerged. Their qi was volatile, sharp, and purposeful, clearly sent to track him. "You survived the valley," one said, his voice carrying both amusement and warning. "Impressive for a boy." Another stepped forward, a blade glinting faintly in the moonlight. "But your luck ends here. Surrender, or die." Liang Feng clenched his fists. Silver light flared beneath his skin, his star meridians resonating in response to the threat. "I don't surrender," he said coldly. "And I won't die, not yet." With that, he leapt forward. The first clash of blades against starlight echoed through the plateau. Liang Feng's instincts had sharpened since Moonlit Valley, but the cultivators before him were skilled and relentless. His movements were precise, flowing with his inner rhythm. Each strike of his star pulse forced the enemies to stagger back, their attacks clashing against bursts of starlight. Yet even as he fought, Liang Feng knew this was only the beginning. Somewhere beyond the mountains, deeper into the red moon peak, the celestial pool awaited. There, he would either unlock the full potential of his star meridian, or face death trying. And he would not fail. Because the boy who had survived the Moonlit Valley, who had awakened the star meridians against impossible odds, would rise further, no matter how many hunters the world sent. Above him, the red moon burned brighter, casting a blood-tinged light over the battlefield. Liang Feng's eyes reflected it perfectly, steady, unyielding, and burning with the resolve to rise. The clash of starlight and steel echoed across the plateau. Liang Feng's body burned with exhaustion, but his star meridian hummed with power, urging him onward. Each strike he delivered was no longer just raw force, it carried the rhythm of the stars themselves. The 3 cultivators surrounding him were skilled, but they underestimated him. Not the boy who had barely survived Moonlit Valley. This was someone who now commanded the pulse of the heavens within his veins. "Star pulse," Liang Feng shouted, his hands glowing with silver light. A surge of energy burst outward, shattering the rocks beneath his enemy's feet. 2 were sent tumbling down the slope, screaming as their qi was disrupted. The third hesitated, sensing the raw, unprecedented power in front of him. Liang Feng didn't pause. He leapt into the air, his legs tracing constellations as he moved like flowing starlight. Landing lightly, he pressed forward, channeling the star pulse into his fists. The third cultivator's eyes widened. Impossible, a first meridian, and yet. But before he could finish, Liang Feng's palm struck his chest, releasing a wave of starlight so intense it pushed him several meters back. The cultivator hit the ground hard, coughing up blood, qi fluctuating wildly. Liang Feng exhaled, the energy inside him settling slightly. His first meridian was now fully stabilized, flowing naturally, and the second meridian was beginning to awaken. Cultivation realm. Star initiation. First meridian, stable. Star initiation. Second meridian, attempting awakening. The plateau was silent, only the wind and the distant howl of a spirit beast disturbed the night. Liang Feng's chest heaved, but his eyes glimmered with determination. He looked up at the distant red moon peak. The path ahead was treacherous, with countless unknown trials waiting, but each step he had taken had hardened him. The celestial pool, hidden deep within the peak, was calling. It promised not only the awakening of his remaining meridians but also the secrets of the starry moon sect, lost for centuries. But the world was already watching. Hidden in the shadows of a nearby cliff, a pair of eyes glowed faintly in the dark. "The star-blooded boy, he's alive," a voice whispered. "And he has already awakened the second meridian. This is more than we anticipated. Prepare the sect's disciples. He cannot be allowed to reach Red Moon Peak freely." Liang Feng felt a faint tremor in the air, a subtle disturbance he couldn't yet see. The hunters were far, but they were coming. A surge of energy ran through him. His hands glowed with the faint shimmer of starlight as he focused inward, feeling his star meridians resonate with the world. Each meridian was a step toward power, but also a step toward understanding the balance of heaven and earth. Let them come, he whispered to himself. I will face them, and grow stronger. As he began moving toward the base of Red Moon Peak, the first hints of dawn broke across the horizon. Starlight and sunlight intertwined in the sky, mirroring the battle raging within him. Liang Fengs' journey was just beginning, but already, the world was beginning to take notice. Because in this era of cultivation, a single star-blooded heir could change everything. And Liang Feng was determined to become that force. The climb to Red Moon Peak was treacherous. Jagged cliffs pierced the sky, and the wind carried a bitter chill that burned exposed skin. Each step forward tested Liang Feng's endurance, but the pulse of his star meridians kept him balanced, his body moving with a rhythm almost unnatural in its precision. The higher he climbed, the denser the spiritual energy became. Here, it wasn't just rich, it was alive. Streams of chi coiled around the cliffs like serpents, and ancient formations etched into the rock glowed faintly with moonlight, whispering secrets long forgotten. This is different from Moonlit Valley, Liang Feng muttered, feeling the second meridian stirring in his chest. Its presence was subtler than the first, more refined, like a star beginning to shine in a dark sky. Suddenly, a roar shattered the silence. From a nearby ridge, a massive figure leapt into view. Its body was scaled and jagged, limbs ending in claws like scythes. Its eyes burned like molten gold. A star-aligned spirit beast, the rank here was far beyond anything Liang Feng had faced before. The creature's roar reverberated through the mountains, shaking loose rocks from the cliff faces. Its aura was heavy, oppressive, pure star chi, violent and untamed. Liang Feng's fists glowed faintly as he focused inward, letting the first meridian stabilize the flow of chi while the second meridian attempted to awaken. Star pulse, he shouted. Silver light surged from his palms, coalescing into a shield to absorb the initial strike. The beast's claws smashed down, creating a shockwave that shattered rocks and sent dust spiraling into the wind. He was pushed back, stumbling over jagged stone, but he remained upright. This was no ordinary fight. Every encounter here was a trial, testing not just strength but the ability to control and refine his star meridians. Liang Feng leapt, channeling starlight into his legs, and landed atop a protruding cliff. With the star pulse focused into a concentrated strike, he struck the beast's chest. Crack! The scales splintered, but the creature didn't fall. It roared, launching itself with terrifying speed. Liang Feng's body was propelled backward, crashing into the mountainside. Pain shot through him, but he gritted his teeth. This is just the beginning, he whispered, his chest glowing with silver starlight. His second meridian trembled violently, struggling to stabilize, but he forced his mind to sync with it. The beast circled him, each movement precise, each attack a test. Liang Feng dodged, countered, and gradually began to sense a pattern in its rhythm, the heartbeat of a star-aligned creature. Timing, patience, control, he muttered, recalling his father's lessons from the vision of the starry moon sect. With a deep inhale, Liang Feng focused, letting the energy of the second meridian flow freely for the first time. His movements became fluid, almost effortless, each strike landing with perfect precision. A silver streak of starlight surged from his palm, piercing the beast's chest. The creature howled, staggering backward before retreating into the cliffs above. Liang Feng collapsed to one knee, panting. Pain radiated through his body, but there was also a strange sense of clarity. His second meridian was stabilizing. Cultivation realm. Star initiation. First meridian, stable. Star initiation. Second meridian, stable. The climb ahead was longer, and the trials more dangerous. Red Moon Peak held not just the celestial pool, but countless other tests, beasts, traps, and perhaps even rival cultivators sent to stop him. But for the first time, Liang Feng felt the weight of destiny in his chest, not as a burden but as a driving force. He rose to his feet, wiping the blood from his lip. The red moon above glimmered ominously, and far below, the world seemed distant, insignificant. Red Moon Peak, I'm coming, he said, determination burning in his eyes. And in the mountains above, unseen watchers noted his progress. So, the star-blooded heir is stronger than we imagined, one whispered. We must prepare carefully. His path will lead him to the celestial pool, and we cannot let him claim it first. Liang Feng's journey was far from over. The peak awaited, the celestial pool awaited, and the trials of the star meridian physique were only beginning. The higher Liang Feng climbed, the thinner the air became, yet the spiritual energy grew stronger, almost suffocating in its intensity. The ancient formations along the mountain walls pulsed faintly with moonlight, each one a silent testament to the cultivators who had come here centuries ago, and failed. A sudden rustle echoed from above. Liang Feng's body tensed. He wasn't alone. From a jagged cliff, 3 figures dropped silently. Their robes fluttered in the wind, each marked with the insignia of a mid-tier sect. Their eyes gleamed coldly, scanning him as if measuring every heartbeat. "Young man," the tallest one said, voice low and commanding. "Red Moon Peak is forbidden to outsiders. State your name, or prepare to face the consequences." Liang Feng didn't flinch. His fists glowed with silver starlight. "I'm Liang Feng, heir of the Starry Moon sect. I'm not here to fight, unless you force me." The 3 cultivators exchanged glances. The tallest laughed coldly. "Star-blooded, don't make me laugh. Show us what your so-called power can do." Without warning, the tallest drew a long sword, the blade gleaming like liquid metal. The other 2 flanked him, one summoning a chi sword in each hand, the third focusing a circular formation beneath his feet that hummed with suppressed energy. Liang Feng's heart raced. He was only 2 meridians in, exhausted from the spirit wolf encounter and his climb. But he had no choice. Retreating could mean death, or worse, losing the opportunity to reach the celestial pool. He raised his palms. Star pulse. Silver light surged, forming a protective barrier as the 3 sect disciples attacked simultaneously. The ground cracked, rocks shattered, and wind howled around them. The leader's sword met the starlight with a clang that sent shockwaves across the mountainside. He frowned. "HMPH, not bad for a boy. But you'll tire quickly." Liang Feng gritted his teeth, forcing his second meridian to resonate with the first. Streams of starlight traced along his arms, coiling like living constellations. Each strike he threw no longer relied on raw force, but timing, momentum, and the rhythm of the stars. He dodged the dual chi sword strikes, countered with a palm charged with condensed star pulse, and the energy burst through the formation beneath the third disciple. A shockwave sent them sprawling across the rocky cliff. Panting, Liang Feng wiped blood from his lip. His second meridian pulsed violently, signaling growth, but the fight had taken its toll. He was not yet a true threat to experienced sect disciples. The tallest cultivator rose slowly, eyes narrowing. "Interesting, your power is unstable, yet sharp. You might survive longer than expected. But we cannot let you proceed." Liang Feng felt his pulse quicken. The gap between his meridians and theirs was clear. If he relied only on raw star pulse, he would eventually be overwhelmed. He needed strategy, cunning, and to refine his star meridians under pressure. A low rumble shook the cliffs. Rocks tumbled down the mountainside, and the disciples' attention wavered. From the shadows, a massive spirit beast, a red moon lion, descended, its mane glowing like molten silver under the moonlight. The 3 cultivators froze. Liang Feng's eyes widened. This was far above their level, a 3rd-tier star-aligned beast. It didn't notice him yet, but the battle ahead could either save or destroy them all. Realizing the opportunity, Liang Feng's mind sharpened. Survival meant exploiting chaos. He focused inward, guiding his first and second meridians to resonate perfectly. Energy thrummed through him, each pulse in sync with the stars above. "Star pulse, star step," he shouted, moving like a streak of silver across the cliff. The combined force of speed and starlight sent him past the red moon lion's gaze, drawing the beast's attention to the 3 sect disciples. The mountain trembled as the creature roared, charging them with unstoppable force. The 3 cultivators scattered, abandoning their pursuit of Liang Feng. He used the distraction to climb higher, his star meridians learning, adapting, growing stronger with every heartbeat. Panting, bloodied, but alive, he finally reached a jagged plateau where the celestial pool's presence was undeniable. The air shimmered with pure, concentrated chi, and the moonlight reflected in its surface formed patterns that seemed to whisper ancient secrets. "This is it," Liang Feng murmured. But even here, the trials were far from over. The celestial pool did not accept mere strength, it tested willpower, spirit, and the harmony of one's star meridians. Taking a deep breath, Liang Feng stepped forward. The silver light of his meridians flared, and his reflection in the water shifted, showing him not just his present self, but the potential of the Starry Moon sect's full power, waiting to be unlocked. A faint voice echoed from the pool. "Only those who surpass themselves may drink from the celestial pool. Your path will be forged in pain, blood, and starlight, Liang Feng, heir of the Starry Moon sect. Step forward, or be left behind forever." Liang Feng clenched his fists. His body ached, his meridians screamed, yet his gaze was unwavering. "I will surpass myself, no matter the cost, he whispered. And so, beneath the red-tinged moon and the pure light of the celestial pool, Liang Fengs' true trials began, the first step toward becoming a martial peak powerhouse. Moonlight poured down like liquid silver. The moment Liang Feng stepped forward, the surface of the celestial pool shattered, not outward, but inward, collapsing into a spiraling vortex. The tranquil reflection vanished, replaced by a deep, rotating abyss filled with drifting starlight. The pressure slammed into him. Not physical, existential. His bones didn't creak, his will did. Liang Feng staggered, blood leaking from the corner of his mouth as his star meridians flared instinctively. The first meridian anchored him. The second refined the flow. But the third resisted. A voice echoed from all directions, ancient and emotionless. Celestial pool trial. Tempering of body, qi, and Tao. Failure results in expulsion. Second failure results in destruction. Liang Feng's heart skipped. Destruction. The water surged upward. Silver chains erupted from the pool, coiling around his limbs, his chest, his spine. The moment they touched him, pain exploded. Not tearing, refining. His muscles were crushed, rebuilt, crushed again. Star chi was forced violently through his meridians, scraping them raw. Every breath felt like swallowing knives made of light. Ghh. He dropped to one knee. This wasn't cultivation. This was forging. His mind blurred, and images flooded his consciousness. Disciples of the starry moon sect screaming as their bodies collapsed. Stars falling from the sky. A lone figure standing beneath a shattered constellation, refusing to kneel. Liang Feng clenched his teeth. I won't break. The chains tightened. His second meridian convulsed violently. Crack. A fracture appeared along its inner pathway. Blood sprayed from his mouth. From outside the pool, if anyone were watching, they would see Liang Feng's body floating midair, wrapped in starlight chains, skin splitting and healing over and over again. Minutes passed, then hours, then, something changed. Instead of resisting, Liang Feng adjusted. He stopped forcing the star chi to obey. He listened. The first meridian stabilized the foundation. The second refined circulation. The third, slowly, began to synchronize. The chains trembled. The celestial pool reacted. Star meridian physique, adaptive compatibility detected. The pressure increased again, but this time, Liang Feng didn't collapse. He straightened. Bones cracked, then rang like struck bells. His blood glowed faintly silver. A fourth, faint outline appeared within his body. Not open, but forming. Liang Feng's eyes snapped open. The chains shattered. The vortex collapsed. He fell into the pool. Silence. Cultivation realm advancement. Star initiation realm. First star meridian, perfected. Second star meridian, perfected. Third star meridian, stable. Star body tempering, minor completion. Liang Feng surfaced slowly, gasping. The water no longer felt cold. It felt alive. He could sense it. Every drop of qi, every fluctuation of moonlight, every grain of stone around the pool. His perception had expanded far beyond before. He climbed out, trembling. His clothes disintegrated into dust, unable to withstand the refined star chi saturating his body. His skin was marked with faint constellation patterns that faded after a few breaths. The pool spoke again, softer now. Air recognized. Star refinement complete. Inheritance unlocked. First star archive. The water parted. At the center of the pool, a stone platform rose, bearing 3 items. A jade slip radiating ancient starlight. A bone-white ring etched with moon sigils. A broken compass, its needle spinning endlessly. Liang Feng approached carefully. The moment he touched the jade slip, knowledge flooded his mind. Star Meridian Scripture, Chapter 1. Star Chi Circulation Law. Star Body Forging. Technique. Star Combat Rhythm Foundational. His breathing quickened. This is far more complete than what Father gave me. Next, the ring. The instant it slid onto his finger, space rippled. Star Storage Ring. Grade Earth damaged. Capacity. Limited. Special trait. Preserves star-aligned materials. Finally, the compass. The moment his fingers brushed it, the needle snapped north. Then east. Then, locked, pointing far beyond Red Moon Peak. A location burned into his mind. Azure Sky Sect. Liang Feng exhaled slowly. So that's where my next step lies. But before he could move, boom, a violent tremor shook the plateau. Liang Feng's expression hardened. Someone had arrived. From the cliffside, a powerful aura surged upward, vast, oppressive, and refined far beyond chi refining. A man stepped into view, robes fluttering, eyes sharp as blades. True Yuan realm. His gaze locked onto Liang Feng. So you're the one who activated the celestial pool. Liang Feng straightened, star chi flowing calmly beneath his skin. I am. The man smiled faintly. Good. Then his aura flared. Because your journey ends here. The pressure crashed down like a falling mountain. Liang Feng felt it instantly. The difference between realms was not merely strength, but quality. Qi refining cultivators manipulated energy. Star initiation cultivators shaped it. But a true Yuan realm expert had already condensed Qi into something purer, denser, and far more lethal. True Yuan. The man stepped forward, each footstep cracking the stone. Don't misunderstand, he said calmly. I won't kill you out of malice. But inheritances like this are not meant for ants. Liang Feng's heart beat steadily. He did not answer. Instead, the 3-star meridians within him rotated. Not violently, not recklessly, in harmony. Silver starlight flowed beneath his skin, subtle yet unyielding. The incomplete star ring behind him shimmered faintly, responding to the pressure rather than collapsing under it. The man's brows lifted slightly. Oh, you're still standing. He raised his hand. True Yuan surged. A golden palm formed midair, massive and oppressive, its mere presence warping the air. Compared to this, the attacks Liang Feng had faced before were children's games. This is the difference between us, the man said. Remember it. The palm descended. Liang Feng inhaled. He did not dodge. He stepped forward. The 3rd star meridian flared. Not outward, but inward. For a split second, the world narrowed to a single rhythm. Thump, thump. His heartbeat synchronized with the stars above Red Moon Peak. Star pulse, he whispered. But this time, he didn't release it. He compressed it. The 1st meridian stabilized. The 2nd refined. The 3rd aligned. Silver light collapsed inward, condensing into a single point at his chest before erupting forward, not as a beam, but as a layered wave, rotating like a miniature galaxy. Boom. The two forces collided. The plateau shattered. Stone vaporized. Shockwaves tore through the mountainside, triggering distant avalanches. The celestial pool rippled violently behind Liang Feng, its surface exploding into towering arcs of water. Liang Feng was hurled backward, slamming into the cliff wall. Crack. Bones screamed. Blood sprayed. But he was alive. The true Yuan cultivator staggered back half a step. Half. His expression finally changed. Interesting. He looked at his palm. A thin line of blood trickled down his finger. Silence fell. Liang Feng pushed himself upright, coughing violently. His vision swam, and his meridians burned as if on the verge of tearing apart. But they held. Barely. The man laughed softly. To wound a true Yuan cultivator while still in star initiation. You're no seed. You're a calamity. His aura surged again, far stronger this time. Liang Feng's eyes darkened. If he fought again, he would die. No question. The star compass inside his ring vibrated violently. A direction burned into his mind. Now, Liang Feng slammed his foot into the ground. Star step. The incomplete star ring behind him flared, collapsing into his legs. Space warped as his figure blurred, not fast, but skipped, as if the world itself lost track of him. He didn't flee downward. He leapt sideways, into a collapsing ravine. The true Yuan cultivator's eyes widened. He escaped. He struck the ravine with a furious palm, but the mountains answered with a deafening roar. Formations hidden within Red Moon Peak activated instinctively, collapsing the terrain and swallowing the passage in rubble and starlight. Dust filled the air. By the time it settled, Liang Feng was gone. Several days later, outside Red Moon Peak, a battered figure stumbled out of a mountain pass. Clothes torn, blood dried, breath ragged, but alive. Liang Feng collapsed beside a stream, letting the cold water wash over his hands and face. His body screamed for rest, but his mind was sharper than ever. He had survived, against a true Yuan realm expert. Not through strength, but judgment. He clenched his fist. I'm still too weak. The words were calm, certain, but there was no despair in them. The star meridians within him rotated slowly, repairing themselves. Each cycle felt smoother, more efficient. His foundation, though tested to the brink, had been tempered instead of shattered. The jade slip from the celestial pool warmed against his chest. The star meridian scripture pulsed, as if urging him onward. Liang Feng looked toward the horizon. Far away, beyond mountains and sect borders, lay his next destination. Azure Sky Sect, a place of opportunity and danger, a place where geniuses gathered, where talents were crushed or refined. He rose slowly to his feet. Next time, he murmured, eyes steady. I won't need to run. Above him, the stars shimmered faintly, even in daylight. Somewhere, far beyond mortal sight, something ancient shifted again. The star-blooded air was no longer hiding. And the world had begun to feel it. 3 days later, a vast mountain range rose from the horizon like a sleeping dragon. Peaks pierced the clouds, waterfalls cascaded endlessly, and floating stone platforms hovered between cliffs, connected by glowing bridges of formation light. Above the central mountain, 3 enormous characters were carved into the sky itself. Azure Sky Sect. Liang Fengs stood at the foot of the mountain path, cloak tattered, aura restrained to the extreme. Yet the moment he stepped forward, several gazes locked onto him. Invisible ones. Sharp ones. Star-aligned fluctuation. No, it's hidden. Strange. Liang Feng felt the pressure but kept walking. This sect was different from any place he had been before. Here, chi wasn't wild or chaotic, it was controlled, circulating through grand formations embedded deep into the mountains themselves. Even breathing here refined one's cultivation. At the outer gate, hundreds of young cultivators gathered. Some wore noble robes. Some carried spirit weapons. Some radiated confidence so sharp it cut the air. Outer Disciple Selection. A massive stone tablet floated above the plaza. Outer Disciple Trial. Bone Age. Under 20. Cultivation. Chi refining or higher. Test. Aptitude, Combat, Will. Liang Feng stepped into the crowd. Instantly. Look at his clothes. He looks half dead. Another lucky stray thinking he can join the Azure Sky Sect. A tall youth in blue robes glanced at him with disdain. Hey, he scoffed. Beggar, the servant entrance is over. There. Liang Feng didn't even look at him. He focused on suppressing his star meridians. The last thing he needed was attention. But fate rarely cooperated. Aptitude test. One by one, disciples placed their hands on a crystal pillar. Colors flared. White, trash. Green, average. Blue, talent. Purple, genius. When it was Liang Feng's turn, murmurs spread. Does he even qualify? Chi feels unstable. He placed his hand on the crystal. Nothing happened. The crystal remained clear. Laughter erupted. Ha ha, another trash. Did the crystal break? The elder overseeing the test frowned. That's impossible. Liang Feng withdrew his hand calmly. He knew why. The crystal measured chi circulation, not star meridians. The elder hesitated, then waved his hand. Pass him. Let combat decide. The laughter turned mocking. Lucky trash. Liang Feng said nothing. Combat trial. Pairs were drawn. When Liang Feng's name was called, his opponent stepped forward, a burly youth wielding a heavy saber, chi refining 6th layer. The youth grinned cruelly. Try not to die. The bell rang. The saber came down in a brutal arc. Liang Feng stepped aside. No starlight. No techniques. No excess movement. Just timing. He slipped inside the saber's range and struck once, with 2 fingers. The youth froze. A moment later, he collapsed. Unconscious. Silence. The elder's eyes sharpened. One move. The crowd stirred. That wasn't luck. He didn't even release chi. Liang Feng bowed slightly and stepped back. Round after round, he fought. Never flashy. Never excessive. Never revealing more than necessary. Yet every opponent fell. By the final match, whispers followed him like shadows. Who is he? He's hiding something. He hasn't lost once. Final trial. Will. A pressure formation activated. One by one, candidates dropped to their knees. Sweat poured. Bones creaked. At the center, Liang Feng stood still. His star meridians rotated slowly, grounding his mind. The pressure felt heavy, but familiar. He had knelt under heaven itself. This was nothing. Minutes passed. The formation deactivated. Only 12 remained standing. The elder exhaled slowly. Outer disciples, selected. Applause erupted. Later, outer disciple residence. Liang Feng received his robe, jade token, and a simple stone dwelling at the edge of the outer disciple area. Remote, quiet, perfect. But peace didn't last. That night, a knock echoed at his door. 3 figures stood outside. One of them smiled faintly. Junior brother Liang Feng, he said. I am Shu Liang, rank 3rd among outer disciples. His gaze was polite, but sharp. I hear you're unusual. Liang Feng met his eyes calmly. What do you want? Shu Liang chuckled. Nothing much. Just to remind you. In Azure Sky Sect, his aura flared slightly. Talent without backing gets crushed. He turned and left. Liang Feng closed the door. He sat down cross-legged. The star meridian scripture opened in his mind. Outer disciple. First step. But he knew. This sect would be more dangerous than any mountain. And somewhere deep within Azure Sky Sect, an ancient star ascension platform lay dormant. Waiting. Life in the Azure Sky sect quickly showed its true face. Outer disciples woke before dawn, cultivated until exhaustion, completed dangerous tasks, and competed constantly for resources. Pills, manuals, spirit stones, everything had to be fought for. There was no fairness, only strength and background. Liang Feng kept a low profile. He chose the most remote cultivation area and accepted the lowest paying tasks. To outsiders, he looked cautious, even timid. But every night, he cultivated relentlessly, circulating the star meridian scripture in silence. His star meridians grew steadier, his control sharper. Within half a month, he quietly reached a complete star initiation foundation. No one noticed, until the first conflict came. First suppression. Outer disciple Shu Liang made his move. One morning, Liang Feng returned from a task to find his stone dwelling smashed, his cultivation resources gone. A message was carved into the wall. Know your place. Liang Feng stared at it calmly. He didn't shout, he didn't complain, he didn't report. That night, he went to Shu Liang's residence. One strike. Shu Liang laughed when he saw him. You came alone. Liang Feng nodded. Shu Liang released his aura, chi refining 9th layer, close to breakthrough. He was confident. Liang Feng took one step forward. No star pulse, no technique, just a clean punch. Shu Liang never saw it coming. He crashed through his own door and collapsed unconscious, bones shattered, cultivation disrupted. The noise drew elders, but by then, it was over. Liang Feng stood calmly. I came for my things, he said. No one stopped him. From that day on, the outer disciples learned a lesson. The quiet one was dangerous. A name begins to spread. Rumors moved fast. A hidden expert. He beat Shu Liang in one move. He's holding back. Liang Feng didn't deny it. He also didn't slow down. He entered the sect contribution hall, exchanged points for body tempering pills, and began refining his star body seriously. His strength rose steadily, not explosively, but solid and terrifyingly stable. 3 months passed. Inner disciple selection announced. A bell rang across Azure Sky sect. All outer disciples, prepare for inner disciple trials. Excitement exploded. Only 10 would be chosen. That night, Liang Feng opened the jade slip again. A new page shimmered into existence. Star Meridian Scripture, Chapter 2 unlocked. Star Body Refinement Intermediate. Star Combat Flow. Star Step Complete Form. He exhaled slowly. Perfect timing. Outside his dwelling, several figures watched from the shadows. Some with curiosity, some with greed, some with killing intent. Liang Feng closed his eyes. This time, he wouldn't hide anymore. The inner disciple trials began at dawn. Thousands of outer disciples gathered on the stone arena below the main peak, but only 10 would advance. The rules were simple and cruel: survive, defeat others, and reach the central platform. There were no restrictions. Injuries were expected. Deaths were tolerated. When the signal sounded, chaos erupted. Cultivators clashed instantly, techniques flashing, blood staining the stone. Liang Feng moved calmly through the battlefield, neither rushing nor retreating. His steps followed a strange rhythm, each movement precise. Whenever someone blocked his path, a single strike was enough to send them flying. He did not kill, but he did not show mercy either. As time passed, fewer and fewer remained standing. Stronger disciples began to notice him. One by one, they tested him and were defeated just as quietly. Rumors spread rapidly across the arena. There was a disciple who fought without techniques, whose attacks felt heavy like falling stars. Near the center, Liang Feng finally met real resistance. A young man in white robes stood in his path, aura sharp and refined, already at the peak of chi refining. His gaze was calm, confident, and slightly amused. So you're the hidden one, the man said. My name is Bai Chen. Step aside. Liang Feng shook his head. I need to pass. Bai Chen smiled faintly and drew his sword. Their clash sent shockwaves across the arena. Unlike the others, Bai Chen could keep up. His sword was fast, his footwork flawless, and his control precise. For the first time, Liang Feng was forced to release starlight openly. Silver light flowed along his arms as he blocked, redirected, and countered. The fight drew attention from the elders above. They watched in silence as the two exchanged dozens of blows. Slowly, Bai Chen's breathing grew heavier. Liang Feng's movements, however, became smoother, more natural, as if the battle itself was refining him. With a final step forward, Liang Feng struck. The impact knocked Bai Chen back several meters, his sword skidding across the ground. He stared at Liang Feng for a long moment, then laughed softly. I lost, he admitted. We'll meet again. He stepped aside. Liang Feng continued forward and reached the central platform just as the trial ended. Only 9 others stood with him. Bloodied, exhausted, but alive. That night, the elders announced the results. Liang Feng's name echoed across Azure Sky Sect as he was formally accepted as an inner disciple. Many were shocked, some were excited, others felt uneasy. As he settled into the inner disciple area, Liang Feng felt a change. The spiritual energy here was denser, purer. His cultivation responded immediately. That same night, his star meridians rotated together, and his foundation tightened further, approaching a breakthrough. Far above the sect, an old man opened his eyes within a sealed cave. Starlight reflected faintly in his pupils. So the star blood has entered my sect at last, he murmured. Interesting. Unaware of this, Liang Feng sat quietly in cultivation. His path was accelerating now. The calm days were over. And soon, the true struggle within Azure Sky Sect would begin. The following weeks were grueling. Liang Feng trained relentlessly, focusing on refining his first 2 star meridians. Each night, the starlight within his body seemed to grow brighter, resonating with the spiritual energy of the inner disciple grounds. The cultivation here was faster, but so were the dangers. Jealous disciples watched him closely, some attempting to challenge him under the pretext of friendly sparring. Each time, Liang Feng defended himself, leaving his opponents injured but alive, and word of his growing power spread like wildfire. One afternoon, a commotion broke out near the training courtyard. A group of elite inner disciples, known for their cruel methods, cornered a young girl. Without hesitation, Liang Feng intervened. Using Star Step, he moved faster than the eye could follow, sending the attackers flying with precise bursts of star pulse. The girl trembled as he extended a hand. Be careful, this sect isn't safe for the weak. The event earned him respect but also the envy of many. Among them, a tall, dark-haired disciple named Wu Lang began observing him closely, eyes narrowing with unspoken hostility. So, this is the star-blooded boy, Wu Lang muttered. We'll see how long your luck lasts. Meanwhile, Liang Feng felt the second meridian stabilizing more solidly. He could now feel a subtle pull toward the next step, his third meridian, the key to unlocking the full potential of his star meridian physique. The celestial pool at Red Moon Peak called to him like a distant beacon. Late one night, under a blood-red moon, Liang Feng meditated in the courtyard. His starlight pulsed rhythmically, merging with the energy of the sect grounds. Suddenly, a sharp, icy wind swept through the area. A shadow landed silently behind him. I've been waiting, a calm, low voice said. Liang Feng opened his eyes. Standing there was an elder of Azure Sky Sect, one rarely seen even by inner disciples. His aura was thick, suffocating, and every step he took seemed to bend the energy around him. You're the star-blooded heir, the elder said, voice like rolling thunder. Your presence here has not gone unnoticed. If you wish to grow stronger, you must follow me to the hidden trials of Azure Sky Peak. Only there can your star meridians advance to the next stage. Liang Feng rose, silver light flaring faintly around him. I will follow. I don't fear trials. The elder's lips curved into a thin smile. Good. But remember this, the path ahead will test not just your strength, but your spirit. One misstep and the star meridian physique can turn against you. Keep your focus, boy, or you will die before you understand your own power. And so, at the edge of the inner disciple grounds, under the gaze of a red moon, Liang Feng's journey continued. The hidden trials awaited, promising danger, growth, and the chance to awaken his third star meridian. The road to Marshall Peak was far from over. The next morning, Liang Feng followed the elder through winding mountain paths, the air growing colder and thinner with each step. The Azure Sky Sect's hidden trial grounds were concealed within a massive crater, surrounded by jagged peaks that seemed to pierce the sky. As they approached, Liang Feng could feel the energy here was different, ancient, dense, and alive, like it had been waiting for someone like him. You will enter alone, the elder said, stopping at the edge of the crater. These trials test body, mind, and spirit. No one can interfere. Your star meridians will be pushed to the limit. Survive, and you grow. Fail, and you are gone. Liang Feng nodded. Silver starlight shimmered faintly along his arms. He stepped forward into the crater, feeling the pressure immediately. It wasn't just physical. Spiritual energy pressed against him, probing his meridians, testing their stability. The first trial was simple in appearance but deadly in execution. Giant stone pillars rose from the ground, each inscribed with ancient runes that emitted bursts of spiritual energy. Liang Feng had to navigate through them while synchronizing his star meridians to absorb, deflect, or bypass the energy. One wrong step, and he would be crushed or incinerated. His heart raced, but his mind was calm. First meridian, second meridian, he let them flow together, each pulse resonating with the energy of the pillars. Step by step, he moved with precision, his body becoming like liquid starlight, dodging explosions of energy and countering where necessary. By the time he reached the center of the trial ground, his body was battered, his clothes torn, and his breathing ragged. But his star pulse glowed brighter than ever. He had not only survived, he had adapted, learning to harmonize the energy with his own meridians rather than resist it. A faint vibration ran through his body, the third meridian stirring. Liang Feng dropped to one knee, clutching his chest as starlight coalesced in his core. He could feel it struggling to awaken, pulling against the limits of his body. Pain shot through him, but he gritted his teeth and focused. Third meridian, awaken, he whispered. Suddenly, a golden starlight erupted from his chest, spinning outward like a miniature galaxy. The pillars around him trembled, and the crater itself seemed to pulse in response. Liang Feng's body glowed with silver and gold light, his star meridians finally in harmony. Exhausted but victorious, he collapsed onto the ground. The third meridian had awakened. His power had increased exponentially. He could sense his star pulse flowing naturally through all three meridians now, his body ready to take on challenges far beyond what he had faced before. The elder's voice echoed from the edge of the crater. Impressive. You have passed the first trial. Few can awaken the third meridian so quickly. But this is only the beginning. Greater trials await, beasts, sect disciples, and the most dangerous challenge of all, yourself. Liang Feng rose slowly, his eyes glimmering with determination. He could feel the weight of destiny pressing on him, but also the thrill of power he had never known. The path to Martial Peak was just beginning, and now, with 3 star meridians flowing in harmony, he was ready to face whatever awaited him in the hidden trials of Azure Sky Peak. Liang Feng took a deep breath, letting the glow of his 3 star meridians settle into a steady rhythm. He stepped out of the crater, the wind whipping past him, carrying with it the scent of ancient qi. The elder's words echoed in his mind, reminding him that each trial would be more dangerous than the last. Ahead, a narrow stone bridge spanned a chasm so deep the bottom was lost in mist. The air shimmered with energy, and Liang Feng could feel the presence of multiple cultivators, traps or guardians, he couldn't tell yet. One wrong step, and the bridge could collapse, or he could be ambushed. He tightened his fists, silver starlight flickering along his arms. First meridian, stabilize. Second, adapt. Third, awaken fully. The meridians pulsed in unison, and his body felt lighter, faster, sharper. As he advanced, the mist thickened, and shadowy figures emerged. Spirit beasts, each the size of a small building, with eyes glowing like molten stars. They moved with intelligence, coordinating attacks, testing his speed, strength, and instincts. Liang Feng didn't hesitate. Star Step carried him forward with unnatural speed, each movement tracing faint constellations beneath his feet. Star Pulse flared from his palms, blasting the closest beast backward. He ducked and weaved, letting the rhythm of his star meridians guide his movements, predicting attacks before they came. The beasts were relentless. Their claws tore the stone bridge, sending fragments plummeting into the abyss. Liang Feng's heart raced, but he felt a strange clarity. The trial was pushing him beyond fear, beyond fatigue. His meridians were learning, evolving with each strike, each dodge, each burst of star pulse. Hours passed, though time felt distorted. When the last beast fell into the mist, Liang Feng was covered in cuts and bruises, blood mixing with sweat. But his eyes burned with a fierce light. The third meridian had fully integrated with the others, and his star pulse was stronger than ever. From the edge of the mist, the elder's voice rang out. Well done, Liang Feng. You've survived the first set of trials. But the real test begins deeper within Azure Sky Peak. Only by facing the hidden sect disciples, the ancient spirit beasts, and the final trial of the celestial pool will you truly grasp the power of the star meridian physique. Liang Feng wiped blood from his lips, looking toward the dark forests and jagged cliffs ahead. Each step had made him stronger, but he knew the path forward would demand even more. Let them come, he muttered, silver light shimmering around him. I've survived Moonlit Valley, the Red Moon Lion, and the first trials. The star-blooded heir will not fall. With that, he disappeared into the mist, his star meridians guiding him toward the heart of the peak, where his destiny, and the next level of power, awaited. Liang Feng moved deeper into the mountains, the mist growing thicker and the air charged with dense spiritual energy. Every step felt heavier, yet his star meridians kept him steady, sensing hidden pressures and fluctuations in the chi around him. Suddenly, the ground trembled. From the shadows, a group of elite sect disciples emerged, their weapons gleaming and their eyes filled with cold intent. These were not ordinary cultivators, they were mid-level chi refining experts, each capable of killing a weaker opponent with ease. Without hesitation, Liang Feng focused his 3 meridians. Silver starlight spiraled along his limbs as he assessed their movements. The disciples attacked simultaneously, but his star pulse shielded him, deflecting the first wave of strikes. He countered with star step, closing the distance in an instant, striking one with a burst of concentrated starlight that sent him sprawling. The battle was intense. Each strike Liang Feng delivered was precise, exploiting weaknesses in their formation, while his meridians adapted to their attacks in real time. Even so, their combined strength was overwhelming. Cuts and bruises appeared across his body, but he refused to slow down. Every clash refined his star pulse, every block strengthened his star step. After a grueling fight, the disciples were forced to retreat, some limping, others bleeding. Liang Feng's chest heaved, his body battered, yet a faint smile formed. His star meridian physique had grown stronger under real combat, and the 3rd meridian now flowed like a river, harmonized with the first 2. Beyond the battlefield, the mountain cliffs grew steeper, the path narrower. The celestial pool awaited, but so did the next trials, ancient formations designed to test a cultivator's body, mind, and star meridians simultaneously. Liang Feng adjusted his stance, feeling the pulse of the stars guiding him forward. "I'll surpass every trial," he whispered, silver light flickering around him. "No matter what stands in my way, I'll reach the celestial pool and awaken the full potential of my star meridians." With determination burning brighter than ever, he stepped onto a narrow cliff path, disappearing into the dense mist and toward the deeper trials that awaited inside Red Moon Peak. The path narrowed into a jagged cliffside, winds howling fiercely as Liang Feng climbed higher. Every step demanded perfect balance and control, but his star meridians guided him, sensing subtle shifts in the chi around him. Each pulse of energy strengthened his body, allowing him to move faster and more precisely than a normal cultivator. Ahead, a series of ancient stone formations blocked the way, glowing faintly under the red moon. Liang Feng knew these were traps left by previous sect masters, designed not only to test strength but also mental focus and the harmony of one's meridians. He approached cautiously, letting his senses extend through the starlight. As he stepped forward, a formation suddenly activated. Silver light shot up from the stones, attempting to pin him in place with an invisible force. Liang Feng responded instinctively, channeling his star pulse into his limbs, breaking free and leaping into the air. His body moved with the rhythm of the stars, each jump and strike harmonizing with the flowing energy within him. The formations attacked in waves, blades of chi, traps of crushing stone, and streams of elemental energy. Each time, Liang Feng adapted, letting the first 3 meridians work in unison. His body became a conduit for the starlight, each strike precise, each dodge perfect. Slowly, he advanced, leaving faint trails of silver starlight in his wake. Hours passed, and exhaustion gnawed at him. Cuts and bruises covered his body, yet the star meridians pulsed stronger than ever, feeding him energy. He realized that this trial was not just physical, it was a test of spirit and endurance. The celestial pool demanded more than raw power, it required harmony with the stars themselves. Finally, Liang Feng reached the top of the cliff. Before him, the celestial pool shimmered with ethereal light, calm yet overwhelmingly powerful. The air vibrated with spiritual energy, and a faint voice echoed through the mountains, "Only those who have truly synchronized with the rhythm of the stars may enter. Prove your worth, Liang Feng." He clenched his fists, silver light flaring across his body. His star meridians were aligned, flowing perfectly with one another. "I will not fail," he whispered. "I will awaken the full potential of my star meridian physique." With that, he stepped toward the celestial pool, the red moon casting a fiery reflection on its surface, ready to face the final trial before ultimate power. As Liang Feng approached the celestial pool, the water rippled unnaturally, and the surface shimmered like liquid silver. The air grew heavy, charged with a force that pressed against his body, testing his resolve. Every fiber of his being screamed, but he focused inward, letting the rhythm of his star meridians guide him. The pool suddenly erupted. Dozens of spirit images emerged from the water, each one a phantom of past starry moon sect disciples. They attacked simultaneously, their movements faster than the eye could follow. Liang Feng dodged, parried, and countered, each strike of his fists infused with the harmonized energy of his 3 meridians. The phantoms were relentless, shifting and reforming, adapting to his every move. Liang Feng realized this trial was not just strength, it was a test of perception, timing, and understanding the flow of qi. He took a deep breath, letting the starlight within him pulse in perfect rhythm, and moved like flowing water, his body tracing constellations in the air. One by one, the phantoms shattered under his star pulse, their forms dissolving into sparks of light. With each victory, the celestial pool responded, its surface glowing brighter, its energy resonating with his meridians. Liang Feng felt a strange warmth spreading through him, his 2nd and 3rd meridians thrummed in perfect harmony, and the 1st meridian had reached an unprecedented level of stability. Finally, the last phantom dissolved. The pool's surface stilled, calm and reflective. Liang Feng's chest heaved, sweat and blood dripping from his body, but his eyes shone brighter than ever. He could feel the celestial pool acknowledging him, the energy inviting him to step forward. He knelt at the edge, letting the silver starlight of his meridians flow into the water. The pool's energy surged, wrapping around him like a river of stars, testing his spirit, his body, and his mind all at once. Pain and ecstasy mingled, and for a moment, Liang Feng felt as if he was merging with the stars themselves. When the energy settled, he rose. His body radiated a faint silver aura, stronger and purer than ever before. His star meridians had reached a new level, fully awakened, harmonized, and resonating with the rhythm of the heavens. Liang Feng stood at the peak, gazing at the celestial pool, feeling the immense power flowing through him. The trials had tested him beyond limits, but he had emerged stronger. With the red moon casting its crimson glow, he whispered, "This is only the beginning, I will surpass every limit and become the true heir of the starry moon sect." Far below, in the shadows of the mountains, eyes watched him with a mixture of fear and anticipation. News of the star-blooded boy's success would spread, and countless cultivators would soon rise to challenge him. But Liang Feng no longer feared them. With the celestial pool's power now within him, he was ready to face the world. He turned toward the distant horizon, where countless sects, mountains, and trials awaited. The path to Martial Peak was long, treacherous, and filled with enemies, but for the first time, Liang Feng felt truly unstoppable. His journey continued, each step leaving a trail of starlight behind him, a symbol of the star-blooded heir's rise. Liang Feng left the celestial pool behind, his body still humming with the newfound energy of fully awakened star meridians. Each step he took on the mountain plateau felt lighter, yet every breath carried the weight of responsibility. He was no longer just a survivor, he was a rising force the cultivation world could not ignore. As he descended, the wind carried whispers of distant roars and clashes, hints of other cultivators drawn by the surge of power from Red Moon Peak. Liang Feng's senses sharpened, he could feel the faint disturbances in the air, the trails of qi left by those who were watching, hunting, or testing him. In a narrow mountain pass, 3 figures blocked his path. Their auras were strong, seasoned qi refining disciples, likely sent by a sect that had sensed the awakening of a star-blooded heir. "Hand over your power, boy," the tallest one demanded, his blade gleaming with spiritual energy. "Red Moon Peak does not belong to you." Liang Feng's silver light flared instinctively. "I will not give up what I've earned. Step aside, or face me." He didn't wait for their answer. Star pulse surged through his body, his aura radiating like a small constellation, and he moved before they could react. The battle was fierce. Liang Feng's movements flowed with the rhythm of his 3 meridians, each strike precise, each step calculated. The disciples underestimated him, they had never faced someone whose power resonated directly with the rhythm of the stars. One by one, they were forced back, their attacks breaking against his star pulse, until all 3 retreated, wounded and weary. Panting, Liang Feng's gaze swept the horizon. Each battle strengthened him, but also revealed the endless waves of challenges ahead. He knew that beyond the mountains, the world was vast, filled with powerful sects, star-aligned beasts, and rival heirs who would not hesitate to kill for power. Yet, for the first time, he didn't feel fear. His body had grown, his meridians had awakened, and his understanding of star pulse and star step had deepened. The path to Martial Peak would be hard, but each step now carried confidence. As dusk settled, Liang Feng paused on a cliff, watching the red moon reflect in the rivers below. The celestial pool had awakened him, but the world would forge him further. With a steady breath, he whispered, "Let them come. I am ready for anything." And so, with starlight trailing in his wake, the star-blooded heir descended the mountains, stepping into a world that would soon know his name. His journey toward Martial Peak, the ultimate strength, had truly begun. Liang Feng traveled through rugged mountains and dense forests, each step sharpening his senses and refining his control over the star meridians. The further he went, the more he felt the world's attention on him. Every strong cultivator, every sect, seemed to sense the emergence of a star-blooded heir. One evening, as he camped near a cliff overlooking a vast valley, a tremor in the air alerted him. A massive presence was approaching, an elder from a mid-tier sect, clearly sensing the recent surges of his star pulse. The elder's aura was immense, and even from a distance, Liang Feng could feel the pressure pressing down like a mountain. The elder spoke without approaching. "Boy, your power has drawn attention you cannot handle. Surrender now, and perhaps your life will be spared." Liang Feng smiled faintly, his silver starlight flaring in the dusk. "I've survived Moonlit Valley, the Red Moon Lion, and countless attackers. I won't surrender. If you wish to test me, step forward." With that, the elder surged forward, chi forming a massive sword in his hands. Liang Feng leapt into motion, star step carrying him through the air, silver light flowing across his body. The collision of their power shook the valley, rocks crumbled, and the wind roared like a living beast. Liang Feng realized that true cultivation wasn't just about raw power, it was about timing, perception, and control. He channeled his first, second, and third meridians in harmony, letting the rhythm of the stars guide every strike. Each attack he delivered wasn't just force, it carried precision, speed, and the pull of celestial energy. The elder's attacks were fierce, but Liang Feng's star pulse adaptation was faster, more fluid. With a well-timed star step, he dodged a deadly slash, countering with a concentrated burst of starlight that forced the elder back. The elder's expression changed, surprise, then respect. "You are more than a boy," he muttered, retreating to reconsider his approach. Liang Feng watched the elder disappear into the distance, understanding that each victory was a lesson. The world was vast, filled with sects, beasts, and hidden threats, but every battle refined him further. As night fell, Liang Feng set his gaze on a distant peak bathed in moonlight. The path to Martial Peak stretched far ahead, filled with danger, trials, and the promise of ultimate power. He clenched his fists, starlight shimmering across his skin. "Red Moon Peak was only the beginning," he whispered. "I will rise, no matter what stands in my way." And with that, the star-blooded heir pressed onward, the first steps of a journey that would shake the cultivation world. Liang Feng's journey continued through valleys and cliffs, each step testing his endurance and the harmony of his star meridians. Spirit beasts prowled the mountains, sect disciples ambushed from hidden paths, and ancient formations tried to trap him at every turn. Yet, with every clash, his meridians grew stronger, his control sharper, and his understanding of the star pulse deeper. One dawn, he arrived at a wide plateau where a rival sect had set an ambush. Dozens of cultivators surrounded him, forming a tight formation. Their leader, a middle-aged man with a long sword wreathed in green chi, stepped forward. "So, the star-blooded boy finally shows himself. You will not reach Red Moon Peak alive." Liang Feng didn't hesitate. He spread his arms, letting his starlight flare brighter than ever. "I've fought worse than you and survived. If you want to stop me, you'll have to try harder." The disciples attacked in unison, their chi weapons slicing through the air. Liang Feng moved like flowing starlight, each star step dodging, each star pulse countering. His first, second, and third meridians resonated together, forming a rhythm that guided every motion. One by one, the disciples were struck by bursts of starlight, sent tumbling back, some unconscious, some fleeing in terror. The leader's eyes widened. He's controlling 3 meridians already. Impossible for someone his age. Liang Feng advanced, starlight illuminating the plateau beneath his feet. His star pulse surged like a silver storm, overwhelming the remaining cultivators. The leader, realizing brute force alone wouldn't win, attempted a secret technique, summoning a spectral formation beneath Liang Feng. Liang Feng's instinct screamed. He leapt high, star step tracing a constellation midair, and countered with a focused star pulse strike, shattering the formation. Rocks and energy cascaded across the plateau. The leader fell to his knees, coughing blood, unable to comprehend how a mere boy could overpower him. Breathing heavily, Liang Feng didn't gloat. Every encounter taught him a lesson, every fight strengthened his body and spirit. His meridians throbbed with energy, and he felt the 4th meridian beginning to stir, faint but undeniable. As he looked to the distant red moon peak, the sun's first rays kissed the horizon. The path was still long, filled with rivals, beasts, and ancient trials, but Liang Feng's resolve had only hardened. I will reach the celestial pool, he whispered, silver light tracing his veins. And when I do, the starry moon sect will rise again. With renewed determination, Liang Feng pressed onward, every step echoing with the rhythm of the stars. The climb grew steeper, the air thinner, and the spiritual energy more oppressive. Every step Liang Feng took sent faint trails of silver starlight across the rocks. His fourth meridian, though still unstable, pulsed faintly, guiding his movements and allowing him to sense fluctuations in the spiritual energy around him. Ahead, a narrow stone bridge spanned a deep chasm. On the other side, a massive formation glowed faintly, signaling the next trial of the red moon peak. Before he could cross, a sharp whistle cut through the wind. A figure dropped from above, tall, cloaked in black, eyes gleaming with malice. You're persistent, the stranger said, voice low and dangerous. But this is where the star-blooded boy meets his end. Liang Feng's palms glowed, star pulse resonating through his veins. If you want to stop me, you'll have to try harder than that. The cloaked figure attacked with blinding speed, leaving trails of black chi behind. Liang Feng leapt forward, star step tracing a silver constellation, and met the attack head-on. Starlight clashed with black chi, sparks flying as the shockwave ripped through the mountain. The fight was brutal, every strike tested his endurance and forced his fourth meridian to stabilize under extreme pressure. Liang Feng adjusted his rhythm, letting his star pulse flow with precision, using timing and movement rather than brute force. After a fierce exchange, the cloaked figure stumbled back, surprised. Impossible, controlling 4 meridians, a mere boy. Liang Feng didn't pause. With a surge of energy, he combined all 4 meridians in perfect harmony. Silver light enveloped his body, forming a faint star ring around him. He pressed forward with star pulse and star step, overwhelming his opponent. The cloaked figure was hurled across the plateau, crashing into rocks, unable to rise. Breathing heavily, Liang Feng looked ahead. Beyond the bridge, the formation glowed brighter, signaling the proximity of the celestial pool. His meridians throbbed in unison, the fourth beginning to stabilize, and he felt a deep, pulsating connection to the stars above. This is the path, he murmured, determination blazing in his eyes. No one will stop me from reaching the celestial pool. With that, he stepped onto the narrow bridge, every motion precise, every pulse of his meridians echoing with the rhythm of the heavens. The trials of Red Moon Peak awaited, but Liang Feng's resolve was unshakable. As Liang Feng crossed the bridge, the wind grew fiercer, carrying a chill that gnawed at his bones. The faint glow from the formation ahead revealed a circular arena carved into the mountain itself, ancient runes etched deep into the stone. The celestial pool sat in the center, shimmering with silver and red light, radiating overwhelming spiritual energy. He hadn't gone unnoticed. From the shadows, figures emerged, dozens of cultivators from various sects, all drawn by the aura of his star meridians. Their eyes were cold, and each of them was prepared to stop him at any cost. Liang Feng's chest rose and fell rapidly, but he forced calm into his mind. His first 4 meridians had stabilized, and the 5th stirred faintly, a distant echo of raw power waiting to be awakened. He focused, letting star pulse flow through all 4 meridians, forming a protective aura around him. Come, he whispered, his voice steady despite the growing tension. Let the trials begin. The cultivators lunged, each attack sharp and precise, but Liang Feng moved like flowing starlight. Star step carried him across the arena, star pulse flaring with each strike. He didn't just block or dodge, he read their chi fluctuations, predicting attacks before they came, his meridians guiding him like a sixth sense. With every clash, his 5th meridian trembled, reacting to the pressure and the intensity of the battle. Liang Feng seized the moment, focusing all his energy into a single strike, a condensed star pulse blast that sent multiple attackers tumbling back. Rocks and dust filled the air, and for a moment, the arena fell silent. Panting, Liang Feng felt the 5th meridian pulse stronger, hinting that the next breakthrough was near. He stepped forward toward the celestial pool, aware that the path was far from over. The watchers in the shadows muttered among themselves, realizing that the star-blooded heir was no longer a mere boy, he was a cultivator whose potential could challenge the very top tiers of the martial world. With the pool ahead, the remaining trials, and countless enemies around, Liang Feng clenched his fists, silver light flickering across his skin. Red Moon Peak, the starry moon sect, I will rise above them all. Each step toward the celestial pool was a step toward his destiny, the resonance of his meridians growing stronger, echoing with the rhythm of the stars themselves. Liang Feng stood at the edge of the celestial pool, its surface calm yet pulsing with immense power. He could feel the energy seeping into his star meridians, urging them to awaken further, but the pool demanded more than just strength, it demanded perfection, harmony, and a resolute will. He took a deep breath and stepped into the shallow waters. The instant his feet touched the surface, waves of starlight rippled outward, surrounding him. Pain shot through his body as his fifth meridian reacted violently, struggling to contain the surge of energy. His vision blurred, and flashes of past failures and battles crossed his mind, testing his focus. "Concentrate," he muttered, forcing his mind to clear. The star pulse coursed through him, linking his first through fifth meridians. Silver light flared around his body, illuminating the arena and sending the onlookers in shock. His body trembled, but he clenched his fists, willing his meridians to stabilize. Gradually, the chaos in his body settled. The fifth meridian glowed steadily, bright as a newborn star, and a faint sixth meridian began to stir deep within his core. The celestial pool responded, rippling and shining, as if acknowledging his progress. Exhausted but exhilarated, Liang Feng emerged from the pool. His body felt lighter, his senses sharper, and his star meridians resonating in perfect rhythm. He knew that the sixth meridian would not awaken so easily, it would demand even greater trials, but the foundation was now set. From the cliffs above, cultivators and spirit beasts alike watched silently, their expressions a mixture of fear, awe, and calculation. Liang Feng's power was no longer just extraordinary, it was dangerous. He had crossed a threshold. "Red Moon Peak, I will conquer you," he whispered, eyes reflecting the silver glow of his star meridians. The journey was far from over, but each step brought him closer to the full strength of the starry moon sect. And with the sixth meridian awakening on the horizon, Liang Feng knew that the era of the star-blooded heir had truly begun. Liang Feng stood on the plateau, his body still humming with the residual energy of the celestial pool. The silver light of his 5-star meridians intertwined, leaving faint trails in the air like flowing constellations. He could feel the pull of the sixth meridian deep within his dantian, a faint pulse that promised greater power but demanded even harsher trials. Suddenly, a rumble shook the plateau. From the cliffs above, a massive shadow descended, a third-tier spirit beast, larger and more ferocious than any he had faced. Its scales shimmered like molten metal, and its roar carried a storm's force. Liang Feng didn't hesitate. He dashed forward, star step propelling him like streaks of starlight, dodging the beast's crushing claws. He focused his meridians, letting the first 5 pulse in perfect harmony. Star pulse erupted from his fists, striking the beast's chest. Sparks flew as the attack clashed with its armored scales. The creature staggered but did not fall. Liang Feng knew brute force wouldn't be enough. He needed strategy, timing, and precise control over his star meridians. Circling the beast, he observed its movements, memorizing the rhythm of its attacks. Every swipe of its claws, every roar, every step created a pattern. Liang Feng's sixth meridian trembled as he drew deeper into the flow of starlight, learning to anticipate and respond, letting instinct and meridian energy guide him. Finally, he struck. Star pulse concentrated into a single, piercing palm strike, shattering the beast's chestplate. The spirit beast roared one last time before collapsing, leaving a crater in the plateau. Liang Feng staggered back, sweat and blood mixing on his face, but his eyes shone with determination. The path to the sixth meridian had opened, and with it, the true journey of the star-blooded heir. Far above, hidden observers noted the fight, whispering warnings. "He's progressing faster than expected. The star-blooded heir is no longer a boy, he's a threat." Liang Feng wiped the blood from his lips and looked toward the summit of Red Moon Peak. The celestial pool had given him strength, but countless challenges awaited. With every step, every heartbeat, and every meridian awakening, he would grow stronger. And he would not stop until the starry moon sect's legacy was fully restored, and he was its undisputed master. Liang Feng took a deep breath, letting the silver light of his 6-star meridians settle within him. The plateau was silent now, only the faint echo of the fallen spirit beast lingering in the wind. His body ached, but his mind was sharper than ever. The 6th meridian hummed faintly, promising untold power, but also warning of the immense trials still ahead. He moved cautiously toward the celestial pool, its surface glowing with a mysterious, pulsating light. As he approached, a series of ancient runes on the surrounding rocks flared, reacting to his star meridian energy. It was as if the mountain itself was testing him, sensing whether he was worthy of the celestial pool's deepest secrets. Liang Feng knelt beside the water, closing his eyes. His first 6 meridians pulsed in sequence, each one resonating with the cosmic rhythm of the stars. Slowly, he extended his palm toward the pool. The water rose, swirling into a column of silver light, and the energy surged into him. Pain lanced through his body, his muscles burning, and his chi threatening to explode, but he clenched his teeth, forcing his mind to remain calm. Images flashed in his mind, visions of ancient star-blooded masters, their techniques, their victories, and their failures. Each one left a lesson, a fragment of power. Liang Feng absorbed them all, letting his star meridians refine and adapt, merging instinct with ancient knowledge. By the time the celestial pool's energy settled, he felt transformed. His body was lighter, yet stronger, and the faint pulse of a 7th meridian teased at the edges of his consciousness. Before he could fully rest, a distant shout echoed across the peaks. Rival sects had sensed the surge of his star meridian energy. Hunters were coming, stronger than ever before. Liang Feng rose, silver light coursing over his body. He knew the journey up Red Moon Peak was far from over. Every step would be a battle, every moment a test. But he no longer feared it. Each challenge was a chance to awaken his meridians further, to surpass his limits. With his fists clenched and eyes shining like twin stars, Liang Feng stepped forward, ready to face whatever awaited him, and to claim the full power of the celestial pool. Liang Feng moved swiftly across the jagged cliffs, his body leaving faint streaks of starlight in the air. Every step was precise, each movement in perfect harmony with his 6 awakened meridians. The higher he climbed, the more intense the mountain's trials became. Rocks shifted underfoot, hidden formations activated, and sudden bursts of wild star chi lashed out like invisible blades. Ahead, a massive stone gate loomed, etched with ancient runes that glowed faintly in the crimson moonlight. The gate pulsed in rhythm with the celestial pool, as if guarding the path to the peak's core. Liang Feng stepped closer, feeling the weight of countless cultivators who had failed before him pressing on his spirit. He took a deep breath, letting the resonance of his star meridians calm his mind. Suddenly, a voice boomed from behind the gate, deep and resonant. Only those who have mastered the first 6 meridians may enter. Are you prepared to face the final trial? Liang Feng's eyes narrowed, silver light flaring from his body. I am, he replied steadily, I will not falter. The gate trembled, and a wave of energy surged outward. It was as if the mountain itself was testing him, probing every ounce of his strength and willpower. Liang Feng clenched his fists, activating all 6 meridians. His body glowed like a constellation come alive, starlight weaving around him in a radiant halo. With a single step forward, he passed through the gate. Inside, the air shimmered with an ethereal light. The celestial pool lay ahead, but it was surrounded by 3 enormous stone statues, each radiating a terrifying aura. These were ancient guardians, remnants of masters who had once sought the pool themselves. Their eyes glowed, tracking Liang Feng's every movement. He took a deep breath, feeling the pulse of his star meridians synchronize. This is my path, he murmured. I will awaken the 7th meridian, and nothing will stop me. With that, Liang Feng leapt forward, silver light erupting from his body, prepared to face the guardians in the ultimate trial of Red Moon Peak. The 3 stone guardians moved almost instantly, their massive forms crashing down with the force of mountains. Each strike sent shockwaves rippling through the cavern, throwing debris into the air. Liang Feng barely dodged the first, rolling across the ground as starlight traced the path of his movements. He focused, letting the resonance of his 6 meridians guide his reflexes. Every step, every dodge, every strike became part of a rhythm, his star pulse flowing like a river of silver light. He struck the nearest guardian with a concentrated palm, the impact sending cracked spider webbing across its stone surface. The other 2 guardians attacked together, coordinating as if they shared a single mind. Liang Feng's body blurred, weaving between their blows, leaving faint afterimages of starlight in his wake. He could feel the pressure of their attacks trying to overwhelm him, but his meridians throbbed with energy, stabilizing his balance and enhancing his strength. He leapt into the air, spinning and delivering a star pulse-infused kick that shattered the 2nd guardian's arm. The stone monster staggered, giving him a narrow opening. Landing gracefully, Liang Feng's fists ignited with starlight. Star pulse, 7 meridians. He shouted, feeling a surge of energy unlike anything before. The final guardian roared, its eyes glowing with a blinding light. Liang Feng focused, every ounce of his power, channeling the rhythm of all 7 meridians. A pillar of silver light erupted from him, striking the guardian directly. The force shattered its stone body, pieces tumbling across the cavern like meteors. Breathing heavily, Liang Feng stood amidst the wreckage. The celestial pool's surface shimmered invitingly, reflecting the red moon above. His 7 meridians now pulsed in perfect harmony, and he felt a power rising within him, stronger and purer than ever before. He stepped forward, placing his hand on the surface of the pool. Silver starlight surged through him as the celestial pool tested his body, mind, and soul. Pain, visions, and energy flooded him, but he gritted his teeth, enduring every trial. After what felt like an eternity, the pool's energy receded, leaving him trembling but transformed. His star meridian physique had reached a new stage, the full potential of the starry moon sect flowing through his veins. Liang Feng exhaled, his eyes shining with determination. Red Moon Peak, the star meridian physique is mine. Let the world come, I will become its master. From the shadows of the cavern entrance, faint eyes watched, calculating. The news of Liang Feng's success would spread, and every sect, every cultivator, would soon know that a new star-blooded powerhouse had awakened. But for now, Liang Feng stood alone, atop Red Moon Peak, the red moon bathing him in its light, ready to carve his path to the martial peak. Liang Feng lowered his gaze from the celestial pool, feeling the surging power of his fully awakened star meridians coursing through him. Every breath now carried energy, every step leaving a faint trace of starlight behind. He had surpassed the limits he had once thought unbreakable. Beyond the peak, the world awaited. Rumors of the star-blooded boy's rise would spread like wildfire, drawing challengers, spies, and enemies. He knew he could not stay here long. The path of cultivation was a journey forward, not a resting place. Descending the mountain, Liang Feng tested his newly enhanced abilities. Each movement was precise, efficient, and powerful. Rocks shattered beneath his star pulse, winds bent around him, and the energy from his meridians made him feel almost untouchable. As he neared the forest at the base of Red Moon Peak, a sense of vigilance returned. He was no longer the boy who had barely survived Moonlit Valley. Now, he was a cultivator whose mere presence radiated threat. Suddenly, a shadow fell across his path. From the trees emerged a group of cloaked figures, their eyes reflecting the silver light of his meridians. They were scouts from a powerful sect, sent to confirm the rumors of Liang Feng's awakening. "I've heard of you," one of them said, bowing slightly but keeping a weapon in hand. "The star-blooded heir, we have come to see if the tales are true." Liang Feng narrowed his eyes. His training, his battles, his climb to Red Moon Peak, it had all led to this moment. He didn't speak. He simply raised his fists, and the air around him shimmered with the pulse of 7 star meridians. The scouts tensed. The ground beneath them seemed to react to Liang Feng's presence, and the faint afterglow of starlight traced his every movement. Without another word, the clash began. Steel, energy, and starlight collided in the forest. Liang Feng moved with fluidity and precision, each strike carrying the power of a cultivator who had surpassed 2 meridians and now wielded 7 in harmony. The scouts were strong, but they were no match for his fully awakened star meridian physique. Within moments, Liang Feng stood alone, the forest quiet except for the rustle of leaves and the faint hum of his meridians. He collected the weapons and items from the fallen scouts, understanding that their sect would soon come in force. Smiling faintly, Liang Feng looked toward the horizon. Red Moon Peak was behind him, and the path ahead stretched endlessly, full of challenges, rivals, and legendary power waiting to be claimed. "Let them come," he whispered. "I am Liang Feng, star-blooded heir of the Starry Moon sect. No one will stop me from reaching the martial peak." With that, he stepped forward into the wider world, ready to face whatever awaited, his body pulsing with starlight and his heart burning with unstoppable resolve. Liang Feng moved swiftly through the forest, his senses heightened, alert for any signs of pursuers. The faint trails of starlight left by his star meridians glimmered on the ground, almost like a warning to anyone who dared follow. As he emerged onto the open plains, he saw a small village in the distance. The villagers were simple folk, unaware of the cultivator wars raging in the world beyond. Liang Feng's presence went unnoticed at first, but he felt the subtle flow of qi from the area. It was weak, but it reminded him of the balance between strength and responsibility. He decided to rest briefly, using the opportunity to meditate and fully harmonize his first and second meridians, while feeling the faint stirrings of the third. The celestial pool's power still lingered in his body, and he realized that every fight, every step forward, made his star meridians stronger. Night fell again, and the red moon hung low, casting a crimson glow over the plains. In the distance, faint silhouettes appeared, another sect, likely scouting for the star-blooded heir. Liang Feng smiled faintly. He was ready. This time, he did not attack immediately. Instead, he let the pursuers approach, observing them, gauging their strength, and testing the limits of his meridians in real combat. When they struck, he moved with a rhythm that seemed to flow with the stars themselves, dodging, countering, and striking with precision. By dawn, the small group lay incapacitated, barely alive but alive enough to spread word of what they had witnessed. Liang Feng vanished into the plains, leaving a trail of whispers about the boy who wielded the power of the stars. Each step he took now carried weight. The world was beginning to notice him, and with every fight, his star meridians grew stronger, each one unlocking new abilities and refining his control over the star pulse. Far beyond the plains, a council of sect leaders convened, their faces grim. The star-blooded heir is alive, and he's growing stronger with each passing day. If he reaches the martial peak before us, our sects will face ruin. Liang Feng, unaware of the council, continued his journey, climbing higher mountains and crossing vast rivers, his resolve unshakable. Every challenge he faced, beast, cultivator, or natural obstacle, was another lesson, another step toward the ultimate power promised by the star meridian physique. And so, the boy who had survived Moonlit Valley, tamed Red Moon Peak, and awakened his first meridians continued to rise. His journey had only just begun, but already the world was reshaping itself around the coming of Liang Feng, the star-blooded heir. Liang Feng reached the edge of a vast canyon, its depths shrouded in mist. The spiritual energy here was dense, almost oppressive, but his star meridians pulsed steadily, guiding him forward. He could sense the presence of a powerful spirit beast far below, one that would test both his strength and control. Carefully, he descended, using the star step to move swiftly and silently along the jagged cliffs. The deeper he went, the stronger the energy became, as if the earth itself were alive, watching him, testing him. Suddenly, the ground trembled. From the mist emerged a colossal spirit serpent, its body coiling around the canyon like a living mountain. Its scales shimmered with starlight, and its eyes glowed with an intelligence that made Liang Feng's pulse quicken. He didn't hesitate. Star pulse surged through his fists, his silver light flaring brighter than ever. Each strike he launched left streaks of starlight in the air, meeting the serpent's attacks with perfect timing and precision. The battle raged for hours. The serpent's strength was overwhelming, but Liang Feng's second meridian had fully stabilized, and his third meridian was stirring more vividly than ever. He felt it, the faint rhythm of a star cycle beginning to form inside him. Finally, with a well-timed star step, he struck the serpent's head with a concentrated star pulse. The beast roared and thrashed violently, but Liang Feng's energy resonated perfectly with the creature's own star-aligned power. With a final surge, he forced the serpent to retreat into the misty depths, victorious but exhausted. Panting, Liang Feng pressed on, climbing out of the canyon. His body ached, but the battle had strengthened his connection to the third meridian. Every challenge, every trial, was teaching him the rhythm of the stars, and he could feel himself approaching the true potential of the star meridian physique. Above him, the red moon shone brightly, and in the distance, he glimpsed the next obstacle, a towering mountain range known as the Heaven's Spine, said to be filled with ancient sect formations and deadly cultivators who had been waiting for centuries to challenge any who sought the celestial pool. Liang Feng tightened his fists, silver light rippling along his body. No matter what stands in my way, I will rise. The martial peak awaits, and so does my destiny. With that resolve, he began the ascent toward Heaven's Spine, ready for the trials, the battles, and the power that awaited him. Liang Feng moved through the treacherous cliffs of Heaven's Spine, each step more exhausting than the last. The air was thin, and the spiritual energy thickened, wrapping around him like a living force. Ancient formations glowed faintly along the paths, warning of the traps set by cultivators long gone. Suddenly, a group of cultivators emerged from the shadows, their eyes sharp and hostile. So, the star-blooded boy has arrived, one sneered. Red Moon Peak won't welcome you alive. Liang Feng didn't hesitate. His star meridians flared, silver light surging along his arms and legs. He stepped forward, star step carrying him with incredible speed, leaving faint constellations in his wake. The cultivators attacked in unison, but Liang Feng moved like flowing starlight. Each strike he countered with star pulse, each movement precise, as if the rhythm of the stars guided his body. One by one, the attackers were sent flying, stunned and injured, their formation broken. Panting, Liang Feng scanned the area. The climb was far from over. Spirit beasts, deadly formations, and stronger cultivators awaited him higher up. But with each battle, his third meridian pulsed stronger, slowly beginning to form a star cycle. He climbed higher, approaching a massive stone gate engraved with ancient runes. The gate radiated a heavy aura, as if warning all who dared to enter. Liang Feng knew that beyond this gate lay the final trials before the celestial pool. Drawing a deep breath, he activated Star Pulse and Star Step together. Silver light blazed around him as he leapt toward the gate. I will surpass my limits, I will not fail, he whispered, determination burning brighter than the red moon above. As he crossed the threshold, the air itself seemed to react to his star meridian physique, crackling with power. Ahead, the true challenge awaited, trials that would test not just his strength, but his will, his spirit, and the very harmony of his star meridians. The journey to the Martial Peak had entered its most dangerous stage, but Liang Feng's heart burned with resolve. He was ready to face anything, for he was the heir of the Starry Moon sect, and the stars themselves seemed to guide his path. The moment Liang Feng stepped through the stone gate, the world around him changed. The air shimmered with dense spiritual energy, and the ground beneath him seemed alive, pulsing in rhythm with his star meridians. Every step forward sent tiny waves of silver light scattering across the cliffs. Suddenly, a deep, rumbling voice echoed from all directions. Only those who conquer themselves may advance. Show me your will, star-blooded heir. The words carried weight, and the surrounding air pressed down on Liang Feng like an invisible hand. He clenched his fists, feeling the first and second meridians thrumming, their energies intertwining as the third meridian began its slow rotation. I will not falter, I will grow stronger, he shouted. A figure emerged from the shadows, a massive spirit guardian, its body covered in starlit armor, eyes glowing like twin moons. It moved with terrifying speed, each step leaving streaks of light on the stone. Liang Feng had no choice but to face it head-on. He dodged the guardian's initial strike, leaping with Star Step, leaving glowing footprints behind. His fists glowed as he channeled Star Pulse into precise strikes, each blow testing the limits of his body and meridians. The guardian roared, forcing Liang Feng to retreat, evade, and strike in a deadly rhythm. Minutes, or perhaps hours, passed as the battle raged, each collision sending shockwaves across the plateau. Slowly, Liang Feng began synchronizing the third meridian with the first two, a faint star ring forming behind him, illuminating the battlefield. Finally, with a coordinated surge of Star Pulse and Star Step, he struck the guardian's chest with a concentrated palm. A pillar of silver light erupted, engulfing the creature. When the light faded, the guardian lay shattered, its starlit essence merging with the mountain itself. Exhausted, Liang Feng collapsed to one knee. His meridians throbbed violently, but a sense of clarity and strength filled him. The third meridian was stabilized, and the star cycle was forming, his body now capable of harnessing a power that few cultivators ever dreamed of. Ahead, the celestial pool shimmered like liquid silver, pure and serene. Liang Feng slowly stood, gazing at its surface. Every challenge, every battle, had led him here. The next step would decide if he could truly ascend beyond the limits of ordinary cultivators and unlock the full potential of the Starry Moon sect's legacy. He took a deep breath, letting the silver light of his meridians flow through him, and stepped toward the celestial pool. The final trial had begun. Liang Feng's reflection shimmered on the surface of the celestial pool, but it was not just his image, it was a projection of his potential, the culmination of his star meridians waiting to be awakened. The water rippled as if alive, testing his focus and will. He lowered himself onto one knee, palms pressed together, and closed his eyes. The first three meridians pulsed in harmony, their energy radiating outward in faint starlight. The celestial pool's energy responded, swirling around him, probing his mind and body. A voice echoed in his consciousness, calm yet commanding, to drink from the pool is not merely to gain power. You must confront your deepest fears, your weaknesses, and rise above them. Images flashed before Liang Feng's eyes, his failures, the battles he nearly lost, the faces of those who had fallen by his side, and even his own. Doubts, pain and fear gnawed at him, but he gritted his teeth and forced his star meridians to burn brighter. I will not be weak. I will surpass myself. Silver light erupted from his body, spiraling upward as if the stars themselves were aligning behind him. His energy interacted with the celestial pool, forming a massive vortex of starlight. The water churned violently, and a wave of spiritual pressure pushed against him like a mountain. Liang Feng staggered, sweat and blood dripping from his body, yet he refused to retreat. With every ounce of strength, he synchronized all 3 star meridians perfectly, forming a complete star cycle. The silver light condensed into a radiant beam, shooting into the sky, illuminating Red Moon Peak in a heavenly glow. The celestial pool calmed, its surface now perfectly still. Liang Feng opened his eyes, and the water reflected not only his present self but also his future potential, a cultivator capable of commanding the heavens themselves. Exhausted but resolute, he reached out and touched the surface. The silver liquid flowed over him, entering his body, merging with his star meridians. Energy surged through every meridian, every muscle, every nerve. Liang Feng felt his strength multiply, his senses sharpen, and a sense of invincibility begin to root within him. When he finally stepped back, he was transformed. His body radiated starlight, his star cycle complete, and his cultivation realm had reached a level beyond ordinary qi refining. He was now a true star meridian cultivator, capable of rivaling peak masters. Yet as he looked out over the mountains, he knew this was only the beginning. The world had already noticed the rising star. Sect disciples, ancient guardians, and rival heirs would come seeking him. And with the power of the celestial pool, Liang Feng was ready to face them all. Clenching his fists, silver light coursing along his veins, he whispered to the night sky, "Let them come. I will carve my path, and the heavens themselves will bear witness." The red moon above glowed brighter, casting a blood-tinged light over the peak, as Liang Feng stepped forward, fully awakened, ready for the trials and battles yet to come. Liang Feng left the celestial pool, his body still humming with the energy of the fully awakened star cycle. Each step he took left faint trails of silver starlight, a mark of the power now flowing through him. The red moon peak was silent, but he knew it would not remain so for long. Far below, the sect disciples who had tried to stop him were recovering, their eyes wide with shock and fear. News of the boy who had survived Moonlit Valley and now awakened the star cycle would spread like wildfire. Liang Feng did not wait for them, his goal was beyond this mountain, and every moment counted. As he descended toward a narrow valley, he sensed a presence, sharp, cold, and calculated. Someone had been tracking him. The air shifted, and 3 figures stepped from the shadows, their cultivation a step higher than before, likely advanced qi refining cultivators. "You're stronger than we expected," the tallest one said, bowing slightly in acknowledgement, "but Red Moon Peak is not meant for outsiders. Step aside, or face death." Liang Feng smiled faintly, the silver light of his star meridians flaring. "I didn't climb all the way here to turn back now. If you wish to stop me, try." The 3 lunged simultaneously, but Liang Feng was ready. He moved like starlight, his body a blur as he dodged their attacks, countering with bursts of star pulse. Each strike was precise, forcing the cultivators to retreat in unison, struggling to keep up with his rhythm. One of them shouted, "Impossible. His star pulse, it's refined beyond a second meridian cultivator." Liang Feng's silver eyes gleamed. The star cycle is not just power, it's perception, timing, and will. You cannot match it unless you surpass yourselves. As the cultivators regrouped, the ground beneath them trembled. From the depths of the valley, the roar of a spirit beast echoed, a silver-winged serpent, a 4th-tier star-aligned creature, drawn by the surging star meridian energy. The 3 cultivators froze, and Liang Feng seized the opportunity. With a leap and a spin, he activated Star Step, moving past them as the serpent lunged. Its scales glinted under the moonlight, its speed terrifying, yet Liang Feng's star cycle flowed in perfect harmony with the environment. He directed the serpent toward the sect disciples with a controlled burst of star pulse, forcing them to scatter once again. Panting but unscathed, Liang Feng landed on a ledge overlooking the valley. His body ached, yet the surge of energy from the celestial pool sustained him. He gazed toward the distant mountains beyond Red Moon Peak. Ancient sects, rival heirs, and more star-aligned beasts awaited, but none of them could stop someone who had mastered the star cycle. "This is only the beginning," he murmured, feeling the rhythm of the stars in his veins. "No one can dictate my path. I will rise, and the heavens will remember my name." As he disappeared into the night, the red moon glowed above, casting its light over the mountains, marking the rise of a new force in the world of cultivation, Liang Feng, the star-blooded heir destined to challenge the limits of the martial peak. Liang Feng continued his journey through the mountains, each step guided by the pulse of his star cycle. The path was treacherous, with jagged cliffs, hidden crevices, and dense fog that twisted the sense of direction. Yet, with each heartbeat, he felt the meridians within him hum in harmony, sharpening his reflexes and senses. Far below, the sect disciples who had failed to stop him regrouped, nursing injuries and fear. "He's not just strong, he's beyond anything we've seen, one whispered. We need to report this to the sect leaders immediately. If he reaches the celestial pool unhindered. The thought was enough to send chills through them. Liang Feng, however, paid no mind. His focus was on Red Moon Peak, and beyond it, the celestial pool's true power. Every obstacle, every enemy, was now a test, a challenge to refine his star meridians further. As dawn broke, he entered a narrow gorge. The air shimmered with concentrated qi, signaling the presence of another ancient formation. The ground pulsed faintly beneath his feet, as if acknowledging the star cycle within him. Suddenly, from the shadows, a figure appeared, a middle-aged cultivator, robe flowing, with an aura that spoke of years of experience. His eyes were sharp, calculating. So, you are the star-blooded boy, he said calmly. I am the guardian of this path. If you wish to proceed, you must prove your worth. Liang Feng didn't hesitate. I have already surpassed what you expect of me. Step aside if you wish to live. The guardian smirked, then raised his hands. Dozens of silver runes appeared in the air, each radiating a deadly pressure. Then let's see if your star cycle can endure real trials. The runes shot toward him like lightning. Liang Feng activated Star Pulse, deflecting them with bursts of silver energy, while Star Step allowed him to dodge with uncanny speed. Each movement refined the rhythm of his star cycle, his first and second meridians now fully integrated, preparing for the awakening of the third. The guardian's eyes widened slightly. Interesting, his control is precise. He may truly be the star-blooded heir. Liang Feng pressed forward, focusing his energy. With each strike, each dodge, he learned the limits of his power, the flow of the star pulse, and the resonance of his star meridians. The battle was not just physical, it was a test of mind, body, and soul. Finally, with a final surge of star pulse and a perfectly timed star step, the guardian was forced to retreat, nodding in respect. You have passed, for now. The path to the celestial pool lies ahead, but be warned, the trials grow deadlier from here. Liang Feng took a deep breath, his body glowing faintly under the rising sun. The journey was far from over, but every step had strengthened him, every fight had sharpened his resolve. Red Moon Peak and the celestial pool awaited, and he would rise, no matter the cost. As he continued onward, faint starlight traced his path, marking the ascent of the star-blooded heir, whose name would soon echo across the lands of cultivation. The path grew steeper as Liang Feng ascended, the mountain air thinner and colder. Every step demanded effort, but the star pulse within him kept his body agile, his senses sharp. The celestial pool's energy grew stronger, almost tangible, humming in the very stones beneath his feet. Suddenly, the wind shifted, carrying a faint, ominous sound, a low, rumbling growl. From the mist above, a pair of glowing eyes appeared, belonging to a massive spirit beast, a red moon serpent. Its scales shimmered like molten silver, and the aura it radiated was pure, violent star qi. Liang Feng's eyes narrowed. He didn't have time to avoid it. Channeling his first and second meridians, he activated Star Pulse, sending bursts of silver light forward to deflect the serpent's strike. The beast lunged with terrifying speed, fangs glinting, but Liang Feng's star step allowed him to vanish and reappear just out of reach. Each movement pushed his meridians to synchronize further. His first meridian provided the raw power, the second refined control, and now, the resonance of both created the first stirrings of the third meridian. Pain and exhaustion threatened to overwhelm him, but he forced his mind to calm, letting the rhythm of the stars guide every motion. With a sudden burst, he leapt onto the serpent's back, channeling star pulse into his fists. Every strike sent waves of silver energy coursing through the beast. The serpent thrashed violently, knocking him off, but each encounter strengthened Liang Feng, teaching him the flow of star qi in battle. Finally, after a relentless clash, the red moon serpent retreated, wounded and wary. Liang Feng stood on the cliff's edge, chest heaving, sweat and blood mingling. The first and second meridians were stable, and the third meridian pulsed faintly, awake, yet incomplete. The celestial pool now lay just beyond a jagged ridge, its silver surface reflecting the crimson light of the red moon. But as Liang Feng approached, a chilling presence blocked his path, a group of elite cultivators from a powerful sect, their eyes cold and calculating. One stepped forward, a cruel smile on his face. So, the star-blooded boy has reached this far. But the celestial pool will not be claimed by the inexperienced. Fight us, or turn back, if you can. Liang Feng's hands glowed with silver starlight, his meridians humming in harmony. I will not turn back. I will surpass myself, and claim the celestial pool. The cultivators lunged, and the mountain erupted into chaos. Silver light and star pulse clashed with sect techniques, rocks shattered, and the wind screamed. Every strike tested Liang Feng, every move refined his star cycle, bringing him one step closer to unlocking the full potential of his star-blooded physique. The journey was far from over, but with every heartbeat, every clash, he grew stronger. Red Moon Peak awaited, and beyond it, the Celestial Pool, and Liang Feng's path to becoming a martial peak powerhouse had truly begun. Liang Feng's body trembled from the continuous battles, but his resolve did not waver. Every attack from the elite cultivators forced him to push his star meridians further, refining the flow of chi with each movement. His first meridian anchored his power, the second controlled it, and the faint pulse of the third meridian hinted at even greater potential. The sect cultivators attacked in perfect coordination, but Liang Feng moved like starlight incarnate, dodging, countering, and striking with precise bursts of star pulse. Each strike he landed left faint constellations glowing beneath his feet, a visible testament to the growing strength of his star cycle. One of the attackers, frustrated by his inability to land a decisive blow, summoned a formation that erupted with golden light, intending to trap Liang Feng completely. Sensing the danger, Liang Feng's instincts flared. He activated Star Step, leaping across the formation as silver light tore through the air, destabilizing the trap and scattering the cultivators. Breathing heavily, Liang Feng felt the pull of the celestial pool stronger than ever. The resonance of his star meridians reached a new level. His third meridian began to pulse more steadily, and a faint, illusory star ring appeared behind him, spinning in perfect rhythm. You're stronger than expected," one of the elite cultivators gasped, blood streaking his face from a recent strike. "How can a boy barely 2 meridians in?" Liang Feng's eyes glimmered. "I'm not a boy, I'm a star-blooded cultivator. And I will reach the peak." Ignoring their pleas and attacks, he pressed forward, using every ounce of his star pulse to surge toward the celestial pool. Rocks crumbled, the wind howled, and the clash of power created echoes that carried across the mountains. As he reached the final ridge, the celestial pool lay before him in all its radiant glory. The water shimmered with silver light, reflecting a sky filled with stars, as if the heavens themselves acknowledged the presence of a true star-blooded cultivator. But standing between Liang Feng and the pool was the last obstacle, a supreme disciple of a peak-tier sect, radiating an oppressive aura that seemed to push Liang Feng to his limits. The air crackled as the cultivator's sword ignited with golden flames, ready to test the boy who had defied fate so far. Liang Feng tightened his fists, silver starlight swirling around him. "I've come this far, I will not stop now." Star pulse, star step. The final battle erupted, shaking Red Moon Peak. Every strike, every movement, every pulse of star chi brought Liang Feng closer to the celestial pool, and closer to awakening the full potential of his star-blooded body. The trials were merciless, but he had come too far to turn back. The final disciple lunged with blinding speed, sword blazing with golden flames. Liang Feng's body glowed with silver starlight as he met the attack head-on. The impact sent shockwaves across the ridge, throwing up dust and shattered stone. He could feel the limits of his 2 stabilized meridians, but the faint pulse of the third meridian stirred stronger than ever. The star cycle inside him responded to the pressure, aligning his movements with an almost instinctive precision. Every strike was calculated, every dodge instinctual. The elite disciple's sword technique was deadly, each movement refined by years of training, but Liang Feng's star pulse carried a rhythm that was unpredictable, like constellations shifting across the sky. The clash of silver and gold light painted the ridge in sparks, the air thick with energy. The disciple smirked despite the injuries mounting across his body. "Impressive, for a mere boy, but strength alone won't save you." Liang Feng's eyes narrowed. "I don't rely on strength alone. I rely on the stars themselves." He drew in a deep breath, letting his star meridians resonate fully. The third meridian pulsed violently, a faint halo of silver stars circling him, incomplete but potent. "Star pulse times 3 meridians." He shouted, channeling all his energy into a single strike. The force exploded outward like a miniature starstorm, slamming into the elite disciple with a power far beyond what 2 meridians could produce. The disciple was thrown backward, crashing against the cliffside, his sword shattered, his body scorched by starlight. Breathing heavily, Liang Feng stepped forward, his gaze fixed on the celestial pool. The water shimmered with ancient power, beckoning him. The trials had tested his strength, will, and adaptability, and he had survived them all. Kneeling at the edge of the pool, Liang Feng lowered his hands. Silver starlight reflected in the water, merging with the energy of the celestial pool. A faint warmth spread through his body, and his third meridian began to stabilize, its pulse syncing perfectly with the first two. The faint halo of stars behind him solidified, forming a visible star cycle. Liang Feng's heart pounded as he felt a surge of power unlike anything before. His star-blooded physique had entered a new phase, stronger, sharper, and closer to its legendary potential. "I've reached it, the true path of the star-blooded cultivator," he whispered. Red Moon Peak, the celestial pool, this is only the beginning. Beyond the mountains, unseen eyes watched. The world had taken notice of the star-blooded boy who had defied death, defeated peak disciples, and awakened his star cycle. Forces that had remained hidden for centuries would now begin to move, and Liang Feng's journey toward becoming a martial peak powerhouse had truly begun. Liang Feng rose from the edge of the celestial pool, his body still humming with the energy of the newly stabilized third meridian. Every muscle felt alive, every nerve attuned to the flow of star qi. The pool's energy lingered in the air, a reminder that even greater trials awaited him deeper within Red Moon Peak. He began exploring the plateau, carefully, observing the formations etched into the cliffs. Each formation radiated spiritual energy in complex patterns, almost like a language of cultivation left behind by ancient masters. Liang Feng realized these were not mere decorations, they were trials, tests for anyone seeking the true power of the celestial pool. Suddenly, the ground trembled beneath him. From a fissure in the cliffs, a massive shadow emerged. It was a star-aligned spirit beast, larger and more formidable than the red moon lion from before. Its scales glimmered with a faint silver light, and its eyes burned like molten gold. Liang Feng could sense the beast's power, it was far beyond what ordinary disciples could handle. He clenched his fists, letting the pulse of his three meridians resonate in harmony. "Star step," he whispered, moving faster than the eye could follow. The beast lunged, but Liang Feng's movements were fluid, almost ethereal, as if he and the stars themselves were one. The battle was fierce. Each strike from the spirit beast sent shockwaves across the plateau, shaking loose rocks and dust. Liang Feng's star pulse met the attacks head-on, waves of silver light clashing against the beast's brute force. He realized that raw strength alone would not win this fight. Timing, observation, and the rhythm of the star meridians were key. After several tense moments, Liang Feng found an opening. Channeling all three meridians into a single concentrated strike, he unleashed a star pulse that tore through the beast's defenses. The creature howled, staggering backward, finally retreating into the cliffs above. Panting and bruised, Liang Feng knew this victory was only the beginning. The celestial pool had tested his body, mind, and instincts, but beyond this plateau lay the deeper chambers of Red Moon Peak, where the most profound secrets of the star-blooded cultivators awaited. He looked toward the glowing red summit in the distance. "I've awakened the three meridians, but there's still more," he murmured. His gaze hardened. "No matter the trials, no matter the enemies, I will grow stronger. I will master the star cycle, and I will reach the martial peak." Unseen among the cliffs, shadows shifted. Observers who had tracked his every move whispered among themselves. "He's not just a threat, he's evolving faster than we anticipated. Prepare the sect's elite forces. Red Moon Peak will not yield to him so easily." Liang Feng took a deep breath, feeling the weight of destiny pressing upon him. The path ahead was treacherous, filled with rival cultivators, deadly spirit beasts, and ancient formations designed to push even the strongest beyond their limits. But he was no longer the boy who had barely survived Moonlit Valley. With determination blazing in his eyes, Liang Feng stepped forward, toward the heart of Red Moon Peak, toward the celestial pool, and toward the trials that would shape him into a true martial peak powerhouse. Liang Feng advanced carefully along the narrow cliff paths, the air growing thinner and colder with each step. The spiritual energy here was thick, almost tangible, coiling like serpents around the stone. Each step required precise control of his star meridians to maintain balance and prevent being overwhelmed by the sheer intensity of the energy. As he reached a plateau halfway up the peak, a faint humming filled the air. Liang Feng looked around and saw dozens of intricate formations etched into the cliffs, glowing faintly with starlight. These formations weren't just decorative. They were traps and tests, each one designed to challenge a cultivator's control over their meridians and spiritual energy. Suddenly, a piercing roar echoed from above. From a jagged ridge, a massive spirit beast descended, a sky flame tiger, its fur crackling with star fire, eyes glowing with a fierce red light. Its claws struck the stone, sending shards flying, and its roar made the very mountain tremble. Liang Feng's body tensed. This beast's star qi was far beyond the ordinary, a true trial for someone with only three meridians awakened. he summoned the pulse of his 3-star meridians. Silver light coalesced around his body, forming a protective aura. Star step, he shouted, moving faster than the beast could track. Each movement left afterimages like streaks of starlight, dodging and weaving with precision. The sky flame tiger lunged repeatedly, testing his defenses, but Liang Feng analyzed its movements carefully. Its attacks followed a rhythm, violent yet predictable. Using this, he began countering, striking weak points with bursts of concentrated star pulse. Each hit forced the beast back, gradually weakening its ferocious onslaught. Hours passed in a blur of battle and dodging. Sweat and blood streaked his face, and exhaustion pressed down on him, but Liang Feng felt the growth of his star meridians with every exchange. The first and second were stable, the third now flowing naturally, and a faint resonance of the fourth began to stir within him, a whisper of power yet to come. Finally, with one precise, explosive strike, Liang Feng's star pulse pierced the tiger's chest. The beast roared, staggering, and then retreated into the higher cliffs, leaving behind a trail of scorched stone. Liang Feng collapsed to his knees, panting, his body trembling with both pain and exhilaration. This is just the beginning, he muttered, feeling a strange clarity within him. The celestial pool's energy above shimmered, calling him onward. Far below, hidden in the shadows, figures from multiple sects watched the boy's progress. He's already pushing beyond the limits of 3 meridians, one whispered, awe and concern in his voice. If he awakens the 4th meridian, Red Moon Peak may belong to him, we must act. Liang Feng slowly stood, wiping blood from his lips. His gaze was locked on the summit, where the celestial pool's glow promised the next stage of his star meridian evolution. Pain, exhaustion, and danger surrounded him, but he felt more alive than ever. No matter the trials, no matter the enemies, I will reach the martial peak, he whispered. Each step forward pulsed with starlight, and with renewed determination, he climbed higher, ready to face whatever Red Moon Peak had waiting for him next. Liang Feng climbed steadily, each step higher bringing him closer to the celestial pool. The air grew thinner, and the spiritual energy became denser, swirling like liquid light around the cliffs. His body ached from the previous battles, but his star meridians throbbed with energy, guiding his movements and keeping him balanced on the narrow ledges. As he approached a steep section of the mountain, he noticed faint silhouettes moving in the distance, other cultivators clearly watching his progress. They belonged to powerful sects, drawn here by the awakening of his star meridians. Liang Feng's eyes narrowed. He could not afford to fight yet, he needed to reach the pool first. Suddenly, the cliff beneath him shuddered. Rocks loosened and tumbled down. A massive spirit beast, larger than any he had faced before, a star serpent, its scales reflecting the red moonlight, emerged from the mist, coiling around the cliffs with terrifying speed. Its roar echoed across the peak, a warning that only the strongest could survive here. Liang Feng steadied his breath, feeling the resonance of his first 3 meridians and the faint stirring of the 4th. Star pulse, star step, he shouted. Silver light burst from his body, forming afterimages that moved with him as he darted across the cliff. He used the serpent's momentum against it, striking weak points with bursts of concentrated energy. The battle raged on, the star serpent's attacks shaking loose boulders, each strike testing Liang Feng's stamina and control over his meridians. But with every dodge and counter, he felt his power grow. The 2nd and 3rd meridians harmonized, and the faint pulse of the 4th teased his consciousness, hinting at a new realm of strength just beyond his reach. Finally, with a surge of starlight concentrated into his palms, Liang Feng struck the serpent's head. The creature let out a deafening roar and retreated into the mist above, leaving the path to the summit open. Liang Feng sank to one knee, panting, sweat and blood streaking his face, but his eyes shone with determination. He looked up at the summit where the celestial pool glimmered like a pool of molten silver, reflecting the red moon. The trials of Red Moon Peak were far from over. There would be more beasts, more cultivators, and more tests of his will, but Liang Feng felt a newfound clarity. His star meridians were awakening in harmony, and with each trial, he was growing stronger. Soon, I will reach the martial peak, he whispered, rising to his feet. With the mountain wind biting his face and the starlight coursing through him, Liang Feng resumed his climb, prepared to face every challenge that awaited him at the celestial pool. Liang Feng carefully approached the edge of the plateau where the celestial pool lay before him. The water shimmered unnaturally under the red moon, its surface reflecting constellations that seemed to float above it. The air was heavy with a divine pressure, a sensation that made his entire body hum with energy. He knelt and placed his hands on the surface of the pool. A wave of pure chi surged into him, and his star meridians trembled violently, demanding control. Pain shot through his chest as if the pool was testing his body and spirit at once. Liang Feng gritted his teeth, letting the starlight within him stabilize the flow. First meridian, second, third, and now the fourth, he murmured. Silver light pulsed through his veins, weaving a pattern of stars along his arms and chest. The celestial pool responded to his determination, glowing brighter, as if acknowledging his resolve. Suddenly, the water rippled violently, and the surface split. From within the pool, a spirit guardian arose, its body composed of liquid starlight, humanoid but terrifyingly alien. Its eyes glowed like twin moons. Only those worthy may drink and ascend, it said, voice echoing as if the stars themselves spoke. Prove your strength, star-blooded heir. Liang Feng's fists clenched, silver light flaring around him. I will prove it, he replied, stepping forward. The guardian attacked without warning, each strike a burst of celestial energy that forced him to dodge and counter. Liang Feng used every lesson from the trials on the mountain, star pulse, star step, precise timing, and control of his meridians to match the guardian's movements. Minutes passed, each strike harder than the last, testing both body and will. Finally, with a synchronized pulse of all 4 star meridians, Liang Feng gathered a massive pillar of starlight in his palms and struck the guardian directly. A brilliant explosion of silver light shook the plateau, and when the glow faded, the guardian had dissolved, leaving the pool calm once more. Liang Feng knelt again and placed his hands on the water. Slowly, it sank into him, filling every meridian and spreading throughout his body. Pain, energy, and clarity mingled as the star meridians stabilized fully. A new strength surged through him, and he could feel the potential of his starry moon sect bloodline unlocking further. Rising to his feet, Liang Feng's eyes glowed with the light of 1,000 stars. The celestial pool had accepted him, but he knew this was only the beginning. Beyond Red Moon Peak, there were higher mountains, stronger foes, and ancient secrets waiting to be claimed. I've grown stronger, he whispered, gazing at the horizon. But the Martial Peak, that is still ahead. I will not stop until I reach it. With that, Liang Feng turned and began his descent, the starlight from his fully awakened meridians illuminating the path, ready to face whatever awaited him next.